All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Omaha, Nebraska broadcast. Trying to figure out some chronological wilderness travelings here. Famous for Strategic Air Command, people wearing Carhartts. I think Reuben sandwich might have been invented here, Omaha, Nebraska, USA. We are, if you live around the world, listening to this later, dead center continental USA, just above where Dorothy and the tornado would have been. Looks just like it, only there's less water. Famous for Omaha, famous for, hey, what does Omaha mean? Yeah, all right, I'm just saying, welcome. My name is Mike Banner, but I go by None Ya Biz because anything from the Holy Spirit, I don't want to say, hey, my name's Mike Banner. I'm telling you this because the Holy Spirit told me. I'm going to say the Holy Spirit told me. And who told you? What's your name? I'm going to say None Ya Biz. Holy Spirit. But there's not too many things like that. We get some once in a while things that are like golden nuggets, us Bible lovers refer to it as. But no, anyway, we're just got. I better stick up my StreamYard. Oh man, I got to go into YouTube. Oh, I don't start till 11:05 anyway. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Doing a little sound check here. I was darn close to the mic there. Doing a little sound check here. Oh, I can see the chat. The chat says Sherry. Yep, and she's blue. Everybody should be blue, but no, we're just gonna leave one blue. People that cuss would probably be the only thing, and then it would be a 300-second timeout. That's 5 minutes, and after you hit them in the timeout, just say, "Come back when you can speak." I don't know how you can word it. Just be kind about it. But no, essentially just cussers. They can, I don't know, lie, cheat, and steal all they want. I don't even know how to put it. You know, use your best judgment, Sherry. But I'm just surprised you're here. Deborah, oh my God, all caps back. Hey, love you, sister. Now listen to that, and Sherry too. As a sister, I'm saying I love you. So Abraham, the same built faith as his wife, are brother and sister. So he did not lie to Pharaoh when he said, "She's my sister." It's like I could say, uh, uh, "This is." This is my, I don't forget how Abraham put it. Anyway, you can be married. That and then that is specific. But the sister, like a bloodline sister, like we had the same dad or the same mother or both. That was also true for Abraham. So it's kind of weird that, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just verified in a couple verses later. Yes, we had the same. I forget how he put it. Anyway, yeah, welcome to, oh, I got to do this. Let me try to, this dumb YouTube. I tell you. So anyway, we got some good news today. The phone got turned back on, so I can quit using my neighbor's Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, remember you go to Burger King and on their billboard back in the day, it said free Wi-Fi. I say, yeah, give me one of them free Wi-Fi, brother. Double Whopper cheese. What? Excuse me. See, I don't know. I gotta go to YouTube. My phone stinks, so I think I'm gonna go away, but I should be back. I think I think I have to go to YouTube to pin, but no, to pin the thing. No, I gotta stay here first. I have to stay here first and go to guests, invite guests, and then it comes up with my StreamYard Addy. Copy is a huge choice. And after that, in the bottom left corner, it comes up with these things. I don't know. So I just tap, oh, and it went away. Okay, now what? See, now we're, okay, so do I X out of this? Or there is a back button within that applet. Guests can stream this to their own, oh, I'll tap that for yes. I'll tap that for yes. All right, then it's like, oh, guest destinations. No, we're Xing out of that. No guests, we'll skip that. We're just gonna X out of this. We got this little copy. Okay, we're gonna hit copy again just for poops and giggles. copy, and we're going to tap that thing down. Oh, that's my notebook. I'm going to click in the upper left-hand corner, done. Again, I'm going to X out of this, and here we are in where I can see everything. I'll show you guys. Where are we at? Is that me? Yay. Yeah, let me show you. I'm going to try and add. Let's see. So I go to guests. No, I already did that. So now I am going to go to a YouTube. Boy, that went on comments. Is that on comments? But I don't know if it should be pinned. I probably have that test StreamYard thing pinned. Is 11:05 yet? Oh, 11:07. We're running late. Greetings from the thriving metropolis of Omaha, Nebraska, famous for Strategic Air Command, maybe the Reuben sandwich, we're not sure. Urban sprawl, Google it. The first two words are a destructive. Home to me. Hilariously, I'm not even going to tell you my high school, the name of my high school. It's gross. Seriously, I'm not even. Omaha, Nebraska, famous for, we are target 0 for, is my mic on? We're target 0 for the first nuclear strike of whatever nation around the world. And no, it's not Russia. False flag, false flag. What's funny about Omaha, Nebraska is it's, let's just say dead center Omaha, Nebraska, or the dead center. Quite honestly, Dodge is like 0. 1 block north of Dodge the addresses are 100. 2 blocks north of Dodge, the addresses are 200 something. 300, 400. It goes to 180th, 180th Street, is 180 blocks north of Dodge. So let's just say dead center Omaha. To Strategic Air Command is not in Omaha, Nebraska. You guys don't even know what that is. That's fine. This is for videotape purposes. To the front gate. Let's just. I don't even want. I'll sound like this is terrible. To Offutt Air Force Base. Let's say, since that's the extinct name, it's now called Stratcom. Is 7 miles. This is Jerusalem, dead center-ish as you can get. Like, you want to say Temple Mount, that's fine, but the Temple Mount is the northeastern part of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is like the southwestern, like that's where the David's palace would be, that southern, because it's Mount Moriah. That's kind of like where Mount Moriah ends and goes and ends and overlooks the the Kidron Valley goes north south, but the next one south that goes east and west, that is south of the Temple Mount. Okay, whatever that is, I forget the name of that one. It kind of overlooks that, and then like north and west of that, and like upward, it's boy, I should have put this on mirror again. I don't like that. Would be what? Would be what? Jerusalem, like the entire city. So Jerusalem to Bethlehem would be like Omaha to Offutt. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Omaha, Offutt. 7 miles. It's how far Mark in the rifleman would ride his horse to go to school every day. Wearing a gun probably in his books, but that's totally weird. And so we say, well, we can go 7 miles today, and let's get some exact figures. We're going what, 35 miles an hour, 7 miles. Oh yeah, here it is, just 5 minutes. I can do that in 5 minutes. How long did it take Mark on his horse? How long could it take if he was in a hurry? Or how long would it take also if he stopped and picked some berries? Average it out. How long would it take? 30 minutes. Oh, we can now do that in 5 minutes. Oh, cool. Wow, you can do so much more now. Yes, we can do so much more. Can you and you can do that 7 miles in 5 minutes? How do you do that? Since it's not on a horse. Is it a chariot? Oh, sort of, but it doesn't have like an live animal. It's got like this fire that keeps igniting so fast it makes it so the wheel turn, and we can control that. So we can do that in 5 minutes. He goes, oh, can you do that and we call it a car. Oh, can you in your car drive to school in the time that Mark on the rifleman took? Can you drive in your car since it took Mark 30 minutes to get to school, can you drive at 35 miles an hour for 30 minutes to get to your school? I'm sorry, did you say what? You stay in bed while your kids get picked up by a bus that really does go 35 miles, but it's intertwining in and out of the neighborhood instead of like in a straight line. No, okay, Omaha, Nebraska, famous for what? Okay, and so we got a sound check thing going. I want to go horizontal here for whatever. Yeah, that turned out kind of good. I want to go horizontal here. We're looking for a chronology of, oh man, I better read I'm not going to be able to keep up on the comments. You guys just come and go. Oh, coming in loud. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're looking for, people ask me what Hebrew roots doesn't even, we don't meet. We don't anywhere. We probably wouldn't know each other on this street because we would probably be wearing a beard and a teetsy. A teetsy, well, a seat, like you sit, seat. But it's really pronounced. It's not really in the English good. And in the English it sounds worse. Teet, I mean, it's more like teet seat. It's tz, like in Psalm 110, Yahweh Sevaot. Oat we know is plural if you've done some like basic, but Sevaot is spelt in the English T apostrophe S if you were to try to write it down in chat, and then EVAOT, I think. So it's Sevaot, but it's that same T like apostrophe S C. Oh, there it is right there. That's my 64-foot teetsy. The hem of your garment that you're supposed to have on the hem of your garment, there's mine as a joke. 64-foot blue. Oh, and Omaha, famous for, I already said that, for people that wear Carhartts. All right, we're trying to get this thing horizontal, doing chronological. I just thought people that have seen the 10 Commandments and think Hebrew roots are like got to do sacrifice lambs and stuff. What don't you good Catholics sacrifice a lamb every your Sabbath and eat them and stuff? I'm just saying, but no, that held. When I did the chronology of the Passion Week and came up, let me advertise that. Yeah, when I did the chronology of the Passion Week and set copy, paste, print, 38 font, 36 font, landscape view, taped on the backside, left-hand justified verses, laid it out on my 12 by 12, I had moved everything out of the way, floor, and these turned out to be 10 by 10, vertical scroll form on paper, side by side, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and see where the donkeys align. They don't align. We'll talk about that some other time. So in searching out the chronology of the Torah, okay, the Torah, oh my God, how many people, oh, do I got to teach all this? It's going to take for hours, man. You guys, my battery's going to die. Torah is the first 5 books. Tanakh is the entire Old Testament. Torah, the first 5 books, the chronology of the Torah, let's say. Then all of a sudden you're thinking Genesis. Oh, you mean the chronology from the creation and Noah? And no, let's start like Abraham's birth, or even Abraham's father. Abraham had an older brother that died, and they named a mountain after him. Does anybody know this, or is this common knowledge? Am I just learning this stuff? So I did the same thing with the Torah, only not like all 5 of the Torah. It's like from Abe. I did that. Copy, paste, print, 38 font, landscape view, tape on the backside, and put in vertical scroll form on left-hand justified. KJV version, sorry, Dr. Nehemiah Gordon and Keith Johnson version, KJV, Keith Johnson version. And did that with Torah, no, except for the Genesis, and not for to look for a chronology. So like, because the 10 Commandments, the first thing you find out, Hebrew roots. The Old Testament is just as important as the New Testament. That's Hebrew roots. You, as a good Christian, you think that's me. The first time I heard "Love thy neighbor as thyself" was in the Old Testament. I about peed my pants. Oh, so anyway, any research you try to do online stinks. It's very Judaism infected, Catholicism with a capital C, Catholic infested, anything man-made infested. It's so what's the truth? Stick to the word. Just find yourself a version you can happily read. You're the best version. Oh, this is it, and they hand it to you. You are still going to happily read it, yes, but you are going to have a question, and then you're going to go to the interlinear. Just find a book you can simply read, and then at some point go to the interlinear. But I would just simply say the KJV. If you can get through all the thee, thy, thou, thou, the, if you can get through all the KJV is your best read, because everybody references it anyway, and it's hilarious. As far as, oh, let me point this out. As far as Zechariah 9:9 in your KJV, this is a prime example of agenda-driven lies of the scribes. Dirty varmint would call them. We're not going to talk about it. Okay, so we put all 4 of them together, and we see, oh, there's 2 different quail events. There's 2 different tablets. We know that, but it just as another clear example. And 2 different serpents. So which serpent are you putting on a pole? So that's what we would get out of the chronology. But how do we get the chronology? You want to teach it real quick to somebody. I would start out, hey, you've seen the 10 Commandments. No, Moses did not go up there one time and get all the 10 and come down, plus the 613, plus the judgments, the ordinances. Oh, we did Passover the first year in the month of the Aviv. Some guys came to Moses saying, we have been defiled by death. why can't we join in this Passover? The Passover is how you get in the covenant. Why can't we get in this? But if it's, how would they know that they were defiled by death? And then Jesus, quite literally, God's response is he gives them two things. He not only answers him, he gives him an additional that they never would have thought of in the wilderness. Yeah, good. They asked good Moses. The one that we all know, and then the second that is going to get misinterpreted. But I want you to write it down because I am going to back you, Moses. We see Moses is not a proper speaker. He clearly misspeaks in the telling the people to set bounds around the mountain. He never told them that. He inserted, "Do not come against your wives." That's a blatant lie. He left out one, not only left out one thing, he added another. So this is what we see in Deuteronomy 4:2. It's illegal within the law itself. It's illegal to add to this law. Pharisaism, Judaism. Modern day Judaism is Pharisaism, I've heard. You don't subtract from the law. Within the law, this law says do not subtract from it. Paul, I better bring him up. If there's an issue, what law was broken? Well, this guy says this guy says that. Let's go to the law. What does the law say? Oh, and all mouths will be shut. Well, if you're adding laws saying you got to light a candle on the Sabbath, otherwise you're going to go to hell. I mean, who's lying? You're in charge of the people, and this is what you're telling the people, and that's what we see in Leviticus. This was what's so genius about Leviticus. If the head of the congregation, this is one of your laws, if the head of the congregation makes the entire congregation, I forget what I think it is congregation, probably ecclesia, sin, there's a sacrifice for that. What? Jim Jones? Drink the Kool-Aid? All he has to do is a sacrifice for that? Well, it probably would have helped if he did it while he was alive. No comment. Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer turned Christian. Yeah, what's Christian? First Christians or today's Christians, modern day? Regardless. So yeah, Leviticus. The first Leviticus 1. Okay, so how would I teach it? Moses was up and down that mountain many times. But after the golden calf, we see he built the tabernacle. Leviticus 1:1. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake to him out of the tabernacle of the congregation. Clearly it's built. Take this entire Leviticus, rip it out and stick it on your heart. The law, that's part of the law, the added law to the covenant after the golden calf. So how would I teach it? I would say Exodus 12. Because if we read Exodus 12, this jives clearly with the what happened during Jesus's Passion Week, which we find in what really happened during his Passion Week, that the lamb is chosen on the 10th. That's the whole point of. Oh, I'm going to probably drop this. Oh, I can actually hold it like that. That's kind of cool. Oh, I like that. Anyway, way down there on the 10th, that's the Last Supper. So the Last Supper's on the 10th. Your Roman Catholics say it's on the 15th. Your Protestants say it's on the 14th. Your SDA say it's on the 14th. Your Baptist, Sabbath, I think I said the backwards, Sabbath, Thursday. Your Quakers, your Lutherans, your Calvinists, 14th, 14th, everybody in the whole wide world for 2,000 years. Oh, not exactly, Mike. Like if it was the year 28 that he died, it would be less than 2,000. Okay, regardless, it's soon. So I'm just saying, it comes out to be the 10th, you know. So let's do the same with Torah. Let's assume Because everybody thinks it's the 15th or the 14th because they've actually never looked for a chronology. In fact, they will emphatically say, even Hebrew roots guys will tell you, well, the Gospels weren't written chronologically, and each one has a different account. Mark and Luke weren't really there. They're like from Peter, and Matthew and John were there. They're like eyeball. Okay, yeah, so you're going to have different witnesses. In fact, if the witness accounts all matched word for word, we would think there would be a conspiracy. Oh, yeah, okay, gotcha. But Luke 1:1, hey, so-and-so, others have written, I'm gonna try and write chronologically. He specifically said, and then I think a couple verses later he says it again. I'm not for certain. So maybe Luke is writing his chronologically. So I look at Luke. Oh my goodness, that's kind of cool. How boom. But then you put Matthew next to it. Well, wait a minute, that doesn't align over here. Well, that's because Matthew was an eyewitness, and Mark, he wasn't. He was from Peter, so he's going to second. And if two witnesses agreed, there might be a conspiracy. It's like, fine, whatever. But the modern day scholars, Matthew, Mark, Luke, are erroneously titled the Synoptic Gospels because synoptic, like they got it from an outside Q source, and then they all copied it, or one of these guys made it first, and the other two copied off of it, or this guy made it first, and then these guys copied off of it, and then I can't do the third one, that one, and these guys. But no, and then John, everybody says he's on left field. It's like, well, as I put them together, they were perfect. They fit like that. Well, in 1919 terms, if you're thinking of a cogwheel, it would be like that. It's like these four gospel authors were sitting together in a room, and Matthew, well, chronologically, Mark and Luke start talking together. And then as Jesus was nigh to Jerusalem, he sent two of his disciples over into the village up over against them, saying unto them, go ye into the town over against them, and you will find a donkey tied, or is it a colt? You will find a donkey tied that's never been rid at the intersection where two places meet. Loose the colt and bring it. Both of them are saying the exact same thing. The entire Luke 11:11, 1 to 10, and Mark 19:28 to 36. They're saying the exact same words. So it fits like this. It's such a perfect fit. The outside Q source, Mark and Luke speaking that exact same thing, and then Luke trails. Mark and Luke are saying that exact same thing, and then Mark trails off into the most remarkable words in the New Testament. It's the undercover boss visiting Jerusalem. The most remarkable verse in the New Testament, Mark 11:11, and then Jesus entered into Jerusalem, and when he had looked around upon all things, and at the even, he went out to Bethany with the 12. And it's like, what the heck? Yeah, Jesus came, and so anyway, we figure out the date. Since they mesh so perfectly, we know the exact date. And the exact date of that, well, on that in particular, let me scoot over here. Because we find out much later. We know once we put the entire puzzle together, we know the exact date way back here when these two guys are talking about going to get a donkey that's never been rid. And we know that next day is Mark 11:11. This is a donkey ride into Bethphage. Because now that we know that these are similar times, and this is the answer to the puzzle, we go back and look. It's like, why didn't I recognize this before? We go back and reproof ourselves. And the first words are, Oh my God, it's telling me right here. He's in Bethphage. In Matthew, we've read Matthew. And then he sent two of his disciples saying, go over into the village, And then Jesus, when was nigh to Jerusalem, and then it continues, it's like three different things. Let's just hit it up real quick, because we can go right back to Exodus in a moment. But this Matthew 21:1 is, it's because you ladies, anybody in the future now, I don't, particularly like these ladies right here, but the ladies in the future, verily, I say unto you, unless you speak of, whenever this gospel is spoken of, unless you mention her as a memorial, wherever, not if, verily, I say to you, wherever this gospel is spoken of, a memorial also will be given to her. But that's way down here. She's the key on figuring out the date. We know that this is a different day. This is a different day. This day was over here. We know that. To figure out the actual date, we got to go to Exodus 12. Remember, we were going to Exodus 12. The first thing you want to do, trying to teach a chronology of what's going on in the wilderness, is go to Exodus 12. It's going to teach you how to do Passover, because Passover was commanded forever. Hebrew roots goes, what do you mean Passover was commanded forever? How could we do it today? And half the Hebrew root says, yeah, there's no temple. And the other half of says, you don't need a temple, you moron. And it's like, well, why are the Jews trying to build a temple or something? I don't know. It gets out of hand. There's a complete misunderstanding. So I just wanted to point out from the phenomenon that I found in the chronology of just putting in the New Testament, putting Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John together and having it mesh see, this is the split rock. Can you guys, can anybody go to Google Maps? If you type in an address within Google Maps, if it's a correct one, if it's a legit address, it'll highlight, it'll give a drop-down tab of an autofill as you're typing it in. I would type in 16807 north, like N period, and it would already give me only five listings within the United States. And it's clearly I'm this one because it's my city. So type in Split Rock of Horeb, and this will take you to Mount Sinai. And within Google Maps, the little square that looks like a graduate cap, tap that and change your view to satellite so that you only get green grass, white snow. Matthew 26:1, real quick, because it is pertinent to teaching somebody the chronology. And it came to pass, let's see, it wasn't even Matthew 26. See, this is how good we know our own, it was 21. But stick your finger in Exodus 12. Or quite frankly, if this is boring, you read Exodus 12 real quick. On the 10th day, you choose your lamb. You keep it up for 4 days until the 14th, when you do two things. Oh, here we are again with the two things. Remember the two different quail events? The two different serpent events. Which serpent are you putting on a pole? The two different tablets. I'm going to lose my place. 21. And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem and were come to Bethphage, unto the Mount of Olives, then sent Jesus two disciples, saying to them, go unto the, etc. Sounds like a triumphal entry to me. Let's read it again. And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem and were come to Bethphage, had been to Bethphage. You never read it that way, did you? Because Mark and Luke record Bethphage. Then he secretly goes into Jerusalem the next day. Now he's staying at Bethany the whole time, or Bethphage, or wherever, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, then on the 5th, is, we know the dates later. Matthew 21:1, and when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem, and were come to Bethphage, and had come to Bethphage, and now he's not in Jerusalem, he's not at Jerusalem, he's just nigh there, but he is where? Unto the Mount of Olives, from Bethphage. Well, then that's clear, he stayed in Bethphage. From Bethphage unto the Mount of Olives, so he's at the Mount of Olives, nigh to Jerusalem. Having already been to Bethphage, Matthew starts out as if he's on the Johnny Carson show with the four other Gospels. Mark and Luke have just spoken. John doesn't speak till way down here. Mark and Luke have just spoken, and then Mark only speaks for a second, and then only Luke speaks for a second, but it's kind of mixed with when Matthew is speaking. Let me read it again. And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem, and were come to Bethphage, unto the Mount of Olives, then sent Jesus two disciples, saying unto them, go unto the village against you. But here he speaks of two donkeys. So you can even Google that question as a Bible question, and you'll see how people have debated it for 2,000 years. But here's a good example. Your KJV is good because in Zechariah 9:9, it specifically says two donkeys. In your new King James Version, it makes it clear it's one donkey because they took out the word and which is in the interlinear. It's in the, it's a word, it's a Hebrew word, and it doesn't mean but, it means and. He will, you see, now I'm going to lose my, battery. I wanted to make this short. I better button it up with our Exodus. Exodus 12. So my point being, I did the same thing with, I don't care to take it. I don't care to get my face. I wanted to, because if it died, I wanted that to be where they take a picture, thumbnail. I wanted that to be the thumbnail if it was on there long enough. Again, Leviticus 1:1, and the Lord called unto Moses and spoke to him out of the tabernacle. This is long after the golden calf. Take that entire book, rip it out, stick it on your heart. No, because it then ends that part of Leviticus and says, this is what I told you in the mount. This is what would have been told to him when he was up there prior to the very first 10 commandments. There's parts of Leviticus that are, okay. To teach somebody chronologically, go to Exodus 12 and make yourself a little map of a timeline. And on the 10th, you're going to do this. And then you're going to have a 11th, a 12th, 13th, a 14th. And on the 14th, you're supposed to do this. On the 15th, it's an added Sabbath of the first of the 7 days of that part of the 12-day matzah fest. This part is where there's no unleavened bread, but you started off with an added Sabbath, just like it would be a weekly Sabbath. Whether it's a weekly Sabbath or not, it doesn't matter. And then that you end it with or did I do that back? Then you end it on the 7 days later, and don't go the 15th plus 7 equals 22. No, you count the 15th. 7 days, you go 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21 is an added Sabbath. That whole time you have no leaven within your household. In Jerusalem, you only do these feasts in Jerusalem. Oh, well, it's still 2025. No, I just proved to you don't need a temple. How would you, and you say you're still supposed to do it today, how would you do it? The exact same way. Not anything to do with the Levitical part of it. Have a party. Well, what about, no. You got to read the whole Torah. You got to put the whole Torah together. Well, yeah, it says you got to go do, no, relax. It also says, if, then do this. Oh, do what? Party. Yeah, define party. Yeah, just believe. Define believe. Well, you're saved by grace through. I'm making that up. I'm acting like I'm freezing. Well, define faith. Because the demons believe and tremble. All right, I would learn about Passover. You want to learn the chronology? You want to learn the Hebrew words? What's going on with the Old Testament, the Torah? I'm not in First Kings. I'm not in Second Chronicles. I'm not in Daniel, David. Well, actually, David. We're doing two things. If I were going to teach, let me get serious with the teaching here before my battery dies. In fact, I'm going to do this. And where's the camera, just to make sure it's clean? If I were to teach the chronology of the wilderness, of course you would start with Exodus 12, the Passover and how to do it and how it is 12 days long, and that you do not need because you're going to have, that you do not need a temple, a priest, and having read the New Testament, you don't need a lamb. You don't need to put blood on. The blood was a token. Exodus 12, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron. Remember, Moses is going to be called, excuse me for that, Moses is going to be called Elohim, and Aaron is going to be his prophet. That's why Aaron, we don't really care what Aaron did at the golden calf. The people were like all up in his butt. And if you take a whole bunch of earrings off of people and throw it down and start to melt it, and you take it out too soon, like you just with a grappling hook, you're going, yeah, it's going to come out like dripping. There's going to be like 4 legs, and then you're going to set it on something stable, and then you're going to mold a golden calf. He did it. The people were all up in him, and they weren't doing it. It was a replacement. Right. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, are you Israel? You trying to get grafted into Israel? Well, this is Old Testament, Mike. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month. On the 10th day of this month. Guess what? The Last Supper was on the 10th. Well, what do you mean? What do we care? The Last Supper was on the 10th. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers. The Last Supper is on the 10th. Jesus having the Last Supper on the 10th, having him and his 12 disciples. This is why Judas betrayed him. Did not choose a lamb. He's the lamb. Why would he choose a lamb? And there's no record of it. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month shall ye take to them every man a lamb. How do you do Passover, Mike? Oh, you go, in Jesus' time, you went to Jerusalem, the Temple Mount. You bought on the Temple Mount a lamb. They put a tag in his ear that had the number of your name, and you had a ticket, a token in your hand, the number of your name, and they took care of it until the 14th, when they tore it apart and gave it to you, and you went and ate it. And no, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. Do not go to a rabbinical site, a Judaism site, Google. Don't even go to AI on this. Hey, AI, when does Passover start? When does the first spring feast day, when should I be in Jerusalem to legally observe the first spring feast? Don't say Passover. Don't say Feast of Unleavened Bread. And so how long is Passover? 7 days. Others say 8 days because of the 14th. It's a 7 or 8 day feast that the Jews of the Old Testament would observe. Modern day Christianity has changed it to this and this and this. You see what I mean? If 2,000 years of it's 7 days or 8 days, when it's actually 12 days, we're not even getting off on the right foot with having a conversation with a Jew. You want to convert a Jew by religion, I guess, you better know your Old Testament. Chapter 12, verse 4. No, this is the first take. Let's go back to verse 3. Exodus chapter 12, verse 3. Speak unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th month of this month, they shall take to them, okay? Take to them. Out of the herd, you take it. The first Passover, they took it in their house. Yehuda Glick, he's a million TikTok rabbi follower, hip, redhead, red beard. You know, he's got the black hat and the I think does he got the says they would, that lamb was so precious to them, they would tie it to their best bedpost, and they would flaunt it all day and groom it and clean it. But verse 3, this is the first time we hear, how do you do Passover? You take out the lamb. Speaking on the congregation and take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it, according to the number of the souls. Take it out, take it, according to the numbers of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. This is important. The Day of Atonement, it's only a goat. It's always only a goat. On Passover, it can be a lamb. You can take it from the sheep or the goat, is verse 12:5. It's got a reference to Hebrews 9:14. You might want to reference. I don't know what that would mean. This is a KJV Bible. They would have no interest in looking up anything in the Old Testament. And ye shall keep it. You take it out. It says 3 times, take it out. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Not the evening of the 14th, like the evening and the 14th is ending. No, the 14th, it's starting. And they shall eat the flesh in that night. I skipped. And they shall take it. Yeah, take it. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorpost of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Bitter herbs, don't forget. Paul says, some of you eat meat only. No, he doesn't say meat only. Some of you eat meat. Some of you eat bitter herbs only. Oh, these guys are doing Passover? Yeah, these guys are doing Passover. Paul is having Passover. Oh, no, he's not. And they shall eat in that night roast with fire and unleavened bread, because it's in the night. You eat it on the 15th. So on the 10th, you kill and cook it. On the 10th, you choose it. You keep it up to the 14th when you kill and cook it. The 15th, you eat and burn it. That is also an added high Sabbath. You treat it just like a Sabbath. The KJV, this is interesting. This is why your KJV did a really good words today, whether it's using the text accepts this only or not. They still put the words together, genius like that. Okay, we're moving on. I better check. I haven't even checked messages, and thank God. Coming in loud and clear. I'm sure I yell, Sherry. Yeah, she probably wrote that 20 minutes ago. Oh, am I still even live? Where are we at here? Yeah, that's still live. That's still good. Okay, yeah. So verse 9, eat none of it. Oh, and so thou shalt take the blood and strike it on the two side posts of the door wherein they. Okay, so don't forget. Should we still, we're strike the side post with blood? Should we still do that? Let's find out. Eat none of it raw, like that's uncooked, nor sodden at all with water. Don't boil it, but roast it with fire. We're going to find out that's whole. Don't boil it, roast it. It's a dead lamb. How do you roast it? You chop it up. You got these legs, the shoulders, the rump. Get rid of the head, get rid of the gizzards, get rid of the poo, right? If you roast it, eat none of it raw, nor sodden at all with water. That sounds weird because if you gut it, usually you also wash it with water to flush it out, as you do it. But roast with fire, his head with its legs. Oh my God. And with the pertinence thereof. It's poo sack. First thing you do when you kill a deer, you get up on it, it's dead, and you're going to carve it up so that you can carry it home in pieces. Or you're going to carry it whole. Even if you carry it whole, guess what you do? You cut out its genital. Oh my God, that's what they did in Hamas. The 1972 Olympics. They castrated those guys. We didn't find out till like 95, 93. Oh, this is important too. And if the household be too little for the lamb. Jesus has, when Jesus does make his triumphal entry, after he makes his triumphal entry, he gives three different versions to the three different guys, but either go over into this guy's house and he's going to have a place prepared for us and prepare for us the Passover. Even if the guy has a house, because one lamb's and he's going to feed a lot of people, that whoever's partaking in that has to be there on the 10th to choose that lamb and keep it up. Well, I'm going to be coming in late. Well, that's fine. You can do it next year or in 30 days. That's fine. Right. So Exodus 12:4, and if the household be too little for a lamb, this is your Jesus. But don't forget, if the apostles, some of the apostles, when Judas left, thought that he was going to get something for Passover, but verses earlier it says, go make ready for me the Passover, and they did. And you think that means they had a lamb? No, I don't think that. Call the ASPCA on you. The Jesus is not going to do another lamb, whether it's some guy did it or not, and that gives Judas an excuse to. I mean, it's not in the text, but if it's true, that gives Judas a reason to go to the Pharisees. He didn't get a lamb. What prophet ever, with his opportunity, he intentionally did not get a lamb? Yeah, then he would have a reason. So I want to hit that, but no, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but the pertinence thereof, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. Oh, okay, so whatever you eat, you throw the rest in the garbage. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Oh, you don't just throw it in the garbage, you burn it. And thus shall ye eat it. Oh, good. With your loins girded, that means your belt cinched, your shoes on your feet. I have my shoes on my feet, my left foot hurts. And your staff in your hand, your car keys in your hand, you're ready to go. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's, all caps, Passover, small p. It is the Lord's Passover, small p. Passover. Here's lesson number 1. Passover, small p. Passover, capital P. Have we heard anything about 7 days of unleavened bread yet in this Passover lamb? No. So why would you think so? Because you were taught that prior. Take out your lamb. Take it out from the sheep or goats. Take it out. Keep it up. Keep it up. On the 14th, kill and cook. On the 15th, eat and burn. On the 15th, an added Sabbath, all of a sudden you're thinking something different than, let's say it again, Exodus 12:11, and thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's, all caps, Passover, small p. For I will pass, small p, through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the Egyptians and all the land of Egypt, both man and beasts. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token. Oh, thank God. Whew. Token, a one-time use or thing. The exact same word used for Noah's ark's flood. And no, Noah's ark does not align with the Ark of the Covenant. Noah's ark aligns with Moses's basket as the exact same word in Hebrew. At Moses's basket, a completely enclosed with pitch within and pitch without, tars, waterproof, watertight. Remember when Pharaoh's daughter picked up Moses at Sea of Reeds, at not the Sea of Reeds, at the reeds, at the place of the flags. Look up elephant is easy to remember. Here's your memorization verse for tonight. It's a secular place. The split rock of Horeb is an actual place. You should be there in satellite view on your Google Maps by now. If you zoom out, you will see the hand of God holding the Sinai Peninsula. You will also see within that Sinai Peninsula, the Gulf of Aqaba has two fingers. The Gulf of Aqaba is one of those two fingers. And then the fingernail would be the Gulf of Aqaba. It's that teeny weeny. It's two, right down the line. So when Moses is giving location, I want you to be aware, to be able to zoom in. This is where you start. If you go to Google Maps, type in the address bar, split rock at Horeb, it will give you the choice to autofill Saudi Arabia, where it is. And it's an actual location. It's just northwest of the actual Mount Sinai, which you can zoom out and find Moses's altar on a legit address. They're building Neom, a 200 square mile, 10 by 20, a 200 square mile city state in the middle of the desert surrounding Mount Sinai, the mountain you are not allowed to touch. Saudi Arabia is building like we're going to, oh, darn, touch it. You go to Google Maps, split rock at Horeb, scroll down to the bottom on what pictures. If you've been to that location, you take a picture, and your location verifies it, they'll put it on Google Photos as a legit photo from this place. No nudes, nothing funky, but you see people driving Jeeps. There's a helipad there. There's a helipad at the split rock at Horeb. To this, that's just starting. But they're gonna, where is that camera? Yeah, it's right there. You are not come to the mountain that can be touched. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. This is where God buys all the firstborn. He sanctified them unto. So you think he's a bad guy here for killing babies? Oh, this is where he passed judgment. It's a baby. This kid was like a complete piece of, like, I don't know what's going on, because God was with him and he didn't even know what death was. And quite frankly, his memory was probably wiped out on his birth, and he gets reincarnated or something. Who knows? For I will pass through this night and smite, and the blood shall be for your token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague. Okay, this is my point. If you see the blood, and I will pass over you, Exodus 12:13, pass over you. That only works in English for Passover. Pass over you, Passover. Pass over you, Passover. Pass over you, Passover. No, Paschal is sacrifice, not a feast. The direct translation is sacrifice. So this is cute that you think Passover means he's going to pass over, which he did, and you can. But you additionally need to know, because back here, and the pertinence of the loins, your staff, and I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite also the firstborn of you, both man and beast, and again, and the gods. Oh, here it is, verse 11, Exodus 12:11. The very end of it says, "Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's." We had just gone over that, all caps, Passover, small p. It is the Lord's Passover, a sacrifice. Would be a direct word for word translation. It is the Lord's sacrifice. So only in English does, are you trying to associate the word Passover with passing over? Even though it is true, he did pass over, and that's what this is saying in verse 13. I will pass over you, and the plague shall not, but there's no sacrifice in there. And I will sacrifice over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you. Yeah, so why do we do it all the time? Why do I think to this day that we need to do this all? Why do I think this is still pertinent? Ooh, pertinence. Eat the lamb with all the pertinence thereof. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. The generations of the Israelites in the wilderness. No, I'm looking at 2025. Give me a reason why not. Oh, because Jesus is the Lamb. Yeah, I get that. So what did he say? Do this in memory of me. Break bread, take a sip of communal wine, wash a feet or two. Oh, that's so hard. Sounds like a party. Yeah. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast, said Totem, by an ordinance. Ooh, ordinance. Maybe this is one of the ordinances that are done away with, the handwritten ordinances. Let's keep an eye on that. Keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Oh, and then it references Exodus 13:9, which is just what we read. That's funny. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with a fire, its head and with the burnings thereof. Has nothing to do with that. That's hilarious. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall have. So here we now finally see something about unleavened bread. We've heard nothing about from all your research, you do Passover on the 14th because that's the sacrifice. That's the day Jesus died. Agreed. The 15th was a high Sabbath, no matter what day of the week it was. How do you do it today? Well, back then, but if you notice, the last Passover Lamb of God was his son. He would have told us how to do it, you would think. Oh, he did. Do this in remembrance of me. Break some bread. Don't go get a lamb on the 10th. Get some bread, leavened bread on the 10th. Have a party with your friends and family and wash some feet. For I will pass the land and the blood, and this day shall be unto you a memorial. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. We're looking for the feast of the Passover, right? Because y'all call it Passover. It's too hard to say the feast of unleavened bread because that's so hard to say. I can't even say hello. I got to say, hey. I can't even say what's up. I have to say zup. So you're too lazy to say the feast of unleavened bread. So we just say Passover. And there's already 3 syllables, and I'm already out of breath. It'll be a feast. So here he says feast twice, just a feast by an ordinance. Forever. Oh, what does forever mean? 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day shall be unleavened in your house. For whosoever eat leavened bread with the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Ooh. And in the first, oh wow, it gives a lot of references. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation. There shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which man must eat, that only may be done of you. Oh, I can't do anything on Sabbath. It's terrible, except what every man must eat. Sounds like an exception. Oh, but it's an ordinance. It's a it's a feast. Did you catch? Did you catch? Did you catch? In the first day there shall be holy convocation, and the seventh day. So those are the added Sabbaths. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man may eat. That only may be done of you. But before that, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven there out of your house. So if the first day is the 15th, and Jesus told us to eat unleavened bread and have a party in remembrance of him from the 10th, the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then kill and cook is what we did with the lamb. Sounds like what you're doing on a preparation day for the unleavened part of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You're getting all the leaven out of your house on that day. And then going into the 15th, this is where we're picking up that 15th, though it's just after sunset, instead of at midnight is what I mean. Holy convocation on the seventh day, the holy convocation, no manner of work. No, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your house. For so whoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the seventh day, that soul, what's a soul? What did we hear? And the Lord spake unto Exodus 12, we started reading tonight. This is how you should teach somebody the chronology of the wilderness, get some basics down. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall be in the bring first to you, speak unto the congregation on the 10th, that take unto them every man according to their fathers. Oh, blessings, we stopped. Yeah. I think the microphone might be blocked by what? That thing there. No, I can see me. There we are. No, we're fine. Oh, your song coming in? Oh, yeah, you're still. Oh my God, I feel so bad. Oh, anyway, some people ask me, how do you reconcile? No, you don't reconcile like say I'm sorry. You reconcile like a checkbook. You don't even know what a checkbook is. Sherry, bro. Yeah, Sherry, yeah. I mean, Luke says, I wrote my gospel chronologically. And then we say the gospel's written chronologically, and we search it out and find out they were, to the extent it sounds like the Holy Spirit was the common author, that they wrote specifically what the Holy Spirit said to write down, though that guy did not know nor care what the next guy was writing, would be a cog or a part of the story, or maybe he gives the actual date. So let's do the same thing with Torah. We start out with Exodus 12, and we find Passover starts on the 10th. We also find out that the Last Supper was Jesus' triumphal entry was on the 10th. The Last Supper would have been, if it's after sundown, it would be the 11th. But definitely the 11th, he's arrested. He's arrested on the 11th and kept imprisoned, going back and forth to, I don't know which, if you say it's Ananias or Annas, or I don't want to mispronounce it, going to Ananias, Caiaphas, Herod, Pilate, and then the cross, 3 hours of darkness, a proper embalmment, just, and all before sundown. But we don't see any captivity of Jesus in the text. Well, yeah, I'll see you before the rooster crows twice. You're going to think it's a day. It turns out it is. Oh, Peter denied him 3 times before his arrest, but there's no rooster crowing. That's it. In the Hebrew, rooster is the same as man, and the man cried out. What man? The priest. For the Passover lamb that the priests choose for all the people, that is staked out on the Temple Mount to display to the people, for the people to see and agree, I find no fault. Staked out like the goat in, oh, that movie, the dinosaur movie. You choose it on the 10th. It's a 12-day feast. Ask your AI how long is Passover? 7 or 8 days? No, it's 12. Because we are looking for chronology. And the first thing we find out is that the first spring feast, because if you call it Passover with a capital P, and that's what we'll do, Passover with a capital P, we mean the 7 or 8 day feast. But a small p, Passover, we mean just the 14th. Right? I mean, do you even know what I'm talking about? Have you noticed that in your KJV? Have you noticed when he's talking about a high Sabbath, he smells it with a, yeah, him, King James, smells it with a small s. If it's a weekly Sabbath, he smells it with a capital S. There's not 7 feasts, there's 3 feasts. There's 7 added Sabbaths, like we just read in Exodus 12. The 10th, you choose your lamb. The 14th, you kill and cook it. The 15th is a Sabbath, added Sabbath. You eat and burn it. From that day, there's no leaven found in your houses. It's funny, the leaven of your bread is air bubbles in your bread that puffs it up, that you see in your Wonder Bread, that you see, and there's all those bubbles in there, all those pock marks, all those gravity craters. That's CO2. That's the same thing that comes out of your mouth when you speak, CO2. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. The new Passover lamb, he said, do this in memory of me. From the 10th to the 14th, how would you do Passover in 2025? At your home, or you would try to get to Jerusalem. If you got to Jerusalem, you'd throw a party on the 10th. You'd be there by the 10th and throw a party with bread and wine, leavened bread and wine, representing Jesus, the Lamb of God, body and blood. Not the same thing. The body is the lamb, the blood is the covenant. This is my body. Do this in memory of me. Instead of an animal, take leavened bread. From the 10th to the 14th, take leavened bread in your party. Remember when you had the lamb in the very first Passover, it was a party for 4 or 5 days. You kept that lamb up. Your kids would have fallen in love with it. Cute little yearling, male, unblemished, petting it, getting, it bleats like a baby. In the movie The Silence of the Lambs, she explains this. The killing of the yearlings, they sound like crying babies. How coincidental, the night you're killing babies. No, I bet those babies were screaming like a MF, but I don't think they felt any pain. I think it was, quite frankly, probably some nasty demons. God went into these babies. God purchased these babies. He literally purchased. That's why he redeemed the Israelites, the firstborn. I'm going to take these. The innocent ones are going to come straight to me. The first of the firstborn, or whatever you call it, from Pharaoh. Oh yeah, from Pharaoh's firstborn unto the water bearer's first. Who knows? Yeah, so you're gonna have some adults in there. They're gonna be responsible for like their own. I think we're charging now. Ah, yes. Because why? That's why, because of that. Yeah, we're still doing good. Okay, let's find a different seat here that's closer then. And see if I can get a 100%. Oh, yeah, actually. Oh my goodness. Well, this is going to work. But let me go back to, we want to do this view to get the whole thing, but I don't want me. I want something pertinent. So I want to write this down. In fact, I got a long piece of paper. And since we want to do the chronology of the wilderness exodus, the 40 years, or whatever part you, I better get caught up on comments. Oh, the sound, thank you for the sound is good. Yeah, the rooster means man. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's like, well, whatever it means, well, however you say it. Adam, it would have to be. Let's look that up. This came from, what is my source on that? What is the source on that? Do we have the Hebrew Matthew of a rooster crowing? Regardless, because it works for a rooster too. It's funny. Everybody questions about this rooster, and so one guy will say, well, finally, some guy will say, what scripture let's bring up the scripture. And some guy brings up Matthew and some guy brings up Mark. Well, they're different. So what have we been arguing for the last 20 minutes? If that they're the same? We don't care if they're different. Oh yeah, because I think that, no, we're fine on that. Okay. Yeah, so that the Passover is this, with a capital P, is a 12-day event. That starts with a special meal that takes you 5 days to prepare, and then an added Sabbath on the 15th. You would kill and cook. Kill and cook on the 14th. If it's leavened bread we are doing now instead of a lamb, to kill and cook leavened bread, what do you think that means? Pretty easy. Get the leaven out of your house. Do your spring cleaning. Hebrew roots people love spring cleaning. We clean the leaven out of our house to the extent we're looking for a valuable coin. If I can sweep a corner of my floor, looking through my cabinets, I would, you don't have to be so detailed that you go OCD on it. Just get the leaven out of your house by the 15th. And quite frankly, I've been doing the Passover with a capital P. I just call it Matzah Fest. Remember how I told you guys came and say, Jews for 2,000 years, Christians is what I mean by you guys, have all tried to shorten it up, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, unto the word Passover. And it's kind of misleading because Passover is really just means sacrifice. But it is how you enter into covenant with Jesus. Eat that bread leavened bread for 4 or 5 days, depending on how you count. Because if you're choosing your lamb on the 10th, you're going to be choosing your bread on the 10th. Your bread is Jesus. You're probably going to get baptized. Baptized is mikvah in the Old Testament. In John 12, when we finally see that John, then in chapter 12, then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, so 6 days before the 14th, that's going to be the 8th. Just prior to that, chapter 12, and or actually, it might be those first couple verses. Many of the Jews were going up to the temple they were going up to purify themselves because Passover was near. They were doing mikvahs. Unfortunately, I'll throw in here real quick. The Pharisees told you that you had to do your mikvahs on the Temple Mount. That's not scriptural. Anything running water. John the Baptist comes in and says, "Look, even in the Jordan River, and you're good." So what is that? With the Exodus 12, it's a 12-day feast. Exodus 12, it's a 12-day feast. Because we're going to go zipping through Exodus 13. We're going to scan it. 14, we're going to look. It's going to be quick. Okay, so we're going to have to remember what's going on here, because it's pertinent to what goes on in your interpretation, not only of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but Revelation, the book of Revelation. If you want to talk about a mimicking of the 7th month in Scripture, even like I was saying with Micah 5:1, the daughter of troops, the daughter of the Greek troops, the Roman troops, the daughter of the troops is going to interrupt the judgment of the Messiah and then it quotes Revelation. What? It doesn't quote Revelation. Revelation quotes Micah. What? No. Which one happened? The chicken or the egg? Does Micah quote Revelation? Speaking of, and when a woman, until the time of the woman in travail. Until the time of the woman in travail. The woman, Revelation in travail, Micah 5:1, 5:2, by that time, I believe, the woman in travail, after the daughter troops, Rome. If I was interested in eschatology, I'd be all up over that. But we got to take a break. My mouth is getting dry. Exodus 12, what's tonight's lesson? Quick lesson, 1 minute, so I can, once this goes to YouTube, I can chop it up into a 1 minute short. What is tonight's? Exodus 12 is 12 days of the first spring feast. I did not say Passover, capital P. I did not say Passover, small p. I did not say Feast of Unleavened Bread. I didn't even say my favorite that I made up, Matzah Fest, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Oh, I better finish reading that part of Exodus, because this is what I'm talking about. Passover in the Hebrew, the one word Passover means sacrifice, not to pass over, although it did. So what do they call it? For, let's see, where was I? Exodus 12. For I will pass through the land. No, that's way back there. And ye shall take a bunch of, this is how you, this is how you put the blood, hyssop and blood. And ye shall take a branch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts. Thank God that's a token. Yeah, so your Exodus 12, what do they call it? What I keep saying it's if you're talking to your AI, I would start out by that because you're going to confuse it. And here all you're doing is telling the truth. And so if your AI don't even know it, nobody's known it for like forever. Let's just all read it together. Exodus 12 in the 10th on the first month on the 10th, you take it out. Do you remember? Take it out, take it out, take it out. Okay, verse 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed oh, that's way ahead. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. Yeah, he actually purchased the firstborn. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Do you know the Passover lamb is, you know, the lamb was a god of the Egyptians? The lamb was a god of the Egyptians. Do we know this? Do we care? I've got to take a break. All right, I'm going to get caught up on messages. The rooster means man. Yeah, so the high priest, when they stake out the lamb overnight, the high priest, when he brings the lamb in, all the people have had the opportunity, the entire city has had the opportunity to visit this lamb and examine it. Not up close and personal, like, walk by it, there's a million people there. They choose their lamb on the 10th, and Jesus coming in on the 10th, not choosing a lamb. Judas can betray him because he did not choose a lamb. What prophet ever is not going to choose a lamb on Passover in Jerusalem? He's arrested on the 11th. The Last Supper is the 10th going into the 11th. He's arrested on the 11th. But at the Last Supper, he tells Peter, you're going to deny me before the rooster crows that very night, that very morning. Then going across the Kidron Valley, then going unto the Mount of Olives. Peter says again, and Jesus says, I've told you twice before, and that essentially ends that part of it. So a rooster is going to crow after Peter denies him 3 times. A rooster crowing representing a day means just hours from now. At daybreak, a rooster is going to crow, and you are going to deny me 3 times. No, Mike, that can't mean what it means. Yes, Mike, that can be what it means. When did he do that? Read your Bible. Peter, can you spend just an hour with me? It's my last night, Peter. My last night. My execution is tomorrow, remember? At dawn, they said they were going to hang me. James, John, can you stay with me? Pray. They were sleeping. Oh, I'd do anything for my Messiah. I'd do anything for my Messiah. But man, I'm tired. Can we do it tomorrow? Come on, dude. I'm tired. Yeah, I'll stick with you, Jesus. I'll stick with you, Jesus. I won't go to sleep. I'll stay with you and pray. I'll stay with you, Jesus. How many times did Jesus come back and find them sleeping? Well, 2 or 3. So where's the third one? Striking off his ear? Did I command you to do that? No, you added. Did I tell you I would deny you and you said, no, I won't? Did you take away? Yeah. You're kicking both sides of both cans down the road. Oh, where was I? I was going to try and do it in a minute thing because of no, we're taking a break because our mouth is, but we want to go this way, and the conversation turns to what? Coming in loud and clear. Oh, good, thank you. That's from way back, I'm sure. You're good, sounds good. Yeah, that was from way back. So we go out, we've got my glasses literally on my head, literally. The rooster mean, yeah, in the Hebrew, it should mean man as well. The man crying out could vary, and if it is a rooster in the morning, Peter denied Jesus 3 times by sleeping, and taking off a guy's ear. He additionally, because going across into the Mount of Olives, Peter said again, at the Last Supper, he said, "You're going to deny me 3 times before daybreak." Going to the Mount of Olives, he asked again, and Jesus responds, "I've told you twice." That should end that part, but then he continues, "I've told you twice. You will deny me thrice before the rooster crows twice." That's a completely different. This teaching here, this is a $50,000 university level teaching. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You take this to any university, Christian or not, Jewish, I don't care. Take it to any university and sell it as a program for $50,000. They charge their students, 20 students a semester, $300. It's a 3-credit-hour course. You go for a semester and learn. You pay $300, 20 people. That's 600, 6,000. $6,000 per semester. 4 semesters a year. Let's just go with 2 semesters a year. That's $12,000 a year. You made $48,000, more than $48,000 in 4 years. You're making a profit every year after that on a course I sold you that was free to me by the Holy Ghost. No, it's not going to work like that. This is free to anybody. I mean, and when I say it's from the Holy Ghost, debunk me and I will retract that statement. But no, it was specifically at a target point where I was like, no, I can't back this up that far. Are you kidding me? Nobody's going to believe it was way back on the 3rd. Why? And I plugged it in and it worked. Because no matter what, they all align on by what authority. He says, by what authority do you do this? By what authority do you do this? By what authority do you do this? And then the next we hear from John. That's where John picks it up, just like he's on Johnny Carson and it's his turn to talk. All these other guys have just confirmed it's everything that happened up until the 7th. And John picks up with the 8th. But what's genius about that, what interlocks the two is the woman with the oil. She did the feet on one day. She did his head the next at a different location. She did the head at Simon the leper's. She did the feet at Lazarus. And don't argue about the 300 thing, because that's another day. So let's do the same thing with Torah. What's going on with the chronologically, with the chronology? My chief grief against arguments I've seen on YouTube is that they're saying that these are the only 2 points of view. It can only be like this and this and this, and they give a lot of sources. And I'm standing over here with the 3rd point of view saying, no, I can see why you're saying that. And the only thing you have to say to me is no, none ya? Tell me if you can steel man me on the Exodus wilderness, the first tablets, the second tablets weren't until 39 and a half years later. That should change everybody's theology. This kills Roman Catholicism, I'm sorry, and every last denomination that claimed they knew when the Last Supper was. I got no grief against you. One of the laws in Leviticus we're going to read is that if the priest, if the leader causes the congregation to sin, there's a sacrifice for that. There was a sacrifice for that back in the day. Jimmy Jones with the Kool-Aid, had he repented with just a sacrifice before Jesus, would have been cleared. Levite, well, he is a Levite. Aaron at the golden calf. Why wasn't he punished? Making an idol. Well, it wasn't an idol to him. I don't know. Can you do Easter now? Because you're doing it for the Lord? That sounds like backwards. Yeah, so just notice we're looking for Passover capital P and Passover small p. Yeah, we're taking a break here, 7 days. Oh, we're looking for what do we call it? And on the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and the seventh there shall be in the holy convocation, and no manner of work shall be done in them except that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast, and it's in italics in our KJV. And ye shall observe the feast is in italics. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, nothing capitalized. For in this self same day have I brought your armies out. Okay, the self same day was the 15th. And he's calling this the Feast of Unleavened Bread. In fact, he's not even calling it the feast. The KJV added the feast. And ye shall observe unleavened bread. Right, so what's the problem here? Because what was the verse right before that? In the first day, you have a holy, that right. Throughout your armies, does that include you? Are you in the army? And in the first day, there shall be a holy convocation. And the seventh day, oh no, this is the 7th month. What are we talking about here? We're getting all mixed up. 7 days shall you eat, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day, oh, right, of those 7 days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread shall be holy convocation, no manner of work, unleavened bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's not even, they're not even calling it the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The KJV added the feast because it's in italics. And ye shall observe, in fact, there's 3 words, the feast of, it's in italics. Somebody can check this out for me in the Greek. And ye shall observe unleavened bread. That very well could mean the title. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out. Yeah, it's the 15th for sure, the 7-day part. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. I got a problem with that, saying you got to, because Hebrew root says you got to follow the commands, statutes, and judgments. The statutes, we say, are the feasts. So here it's calling them ordinances. So this may be a discrepancy in my position. Exodus 12:18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month of at even, ye shall. No, this isn't right. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. Yeah, because you don't go 15 to 16. Yeah, you count the 15th. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations ye shall eat unleavened bread. You go to Jerusalem only to do these feasts, but it sounds here like he's saying in all your habitations, because if you're too far away, we'll find out in Deuteronomy 21, that if Jerusalem is too far for you, you have your party at home. You don't do the lamb thing. You have your party at home, a random party, a party of your choice. You're too far from Jerusalem. Throw a feast at home to God. Invite pagans and serve clean food. Yes. Where have you heard that? Nowhere on your Google search, but simply read it. Deuteronomy 12:21. Well, no, we're not going to read Deuteronomy 12:21 because you haven't gotten through Exodus. You're not going to know what he's going to talk about in Deuteronomy 12:21. He says, if the place that I say to you be too far for thee, what's this place that I'm going to, because he doesn't even say Jerusalem once throughout this, because this is all prior to the next book after the Torah, Joshua. That is after they've crossed over Jordan. We're getting so far behind here, and this light thing really messed up my reading. My mouth is dry. He has called it the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but it seems like it is not called it the Feast of Unleavened Bread, even though we know it is, and it's going to be an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. Whoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Soul. The first thing we get in Leviticus tells us what happens if the leader, what happens if a ruler makes the congregation sin. Okay, that's the second one. In Leviticus, there's a sacrifice if there's a sacrifice. What I'm getting at is the very first sacrifice says soul. And then it says ruler. And then it says, what do we do if the priest sins? What do we do if somebody in the congregation sins to make the whole congregation sin? There's a sacrifice for that. It sounds like there's a hierarchy. If the very first one says soul, it sounds more like an Adam fall fix. Because once we see the chronology, we'll see that he wanted to build the tabernacle as the golden calf was going on, but prior to Moses knowing about it, or going down to see it, whatever. And he said, you are going to once a year do this to cleanse your souls. It doesn't even, it's really weird. It's really weird. In the first month, 14th, you shall eat none in the manner. Then Moses, see, it doesn't give a name. We're looking for a name. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your habitations. You shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, remember how we said, take out the lamb? That you don't go to the Temple Mount and leave your lamb on the Temple Mount and have a tag in its ear with the number of its name and the number of your name, and you have a ticket in hand with the number of your name and the number of its name to take it and retrieve it, because the Pharisees are going to keep it up for 4 or 5 days while you go out and have a good time with your family and friends that have come in from out of town, that you brought in from out of town. Since there's 12 days, you may have a Sabbath prior to, and your boss and you are going to be equal. You shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That kills me. And we call it Passover. It's just so easier to say Passover. So ask your AI. When you ask your AI, when is Passover? It's going to say the 14th or the 15th for 7 or 8 days. And you're never going to get it to get off of what your mindset is that you're trying to trick it into answering. Because now that we know it's a 12-day feast, by simply reading Exodus 12, as we all should have done as we were kids and noticed, it sounds like it's a 12-day feast. What are they talking about? Because we don't even care about it, to the point that we don't even know that if we read about the Feast of Passover, reading the Bible randomly, just after we've learned about Jesus, and in the New Testament, we want to read something in the Old Testament, we randomly go to the Old Testament, we get Exodus 12, and we say, and we're 9 years old, and we say, like, hey, Mom, what's Passover? She's going to be like, oh, it's going to be a 7 or 8 day feast that the Jews, a feast of the Jews, 7 or 8 days, because they don't know, they can't even decide amongst themselves. Honey, they don't even believe in Jesus. Just forget about it, okay? Just skip to the New Testament. You're going to have a problem reading Revelation. You're going to have a problem reading Acts. You're going to have a problem identifying what is a law in the Old Testament, what is a covenant in the Old Testament, what is a promise, what is an ordinance, what is a statute. You're not going to know what you're talking about. Paul is even going to tell you 9 different law definitions, and whenever he says just law, you say it's this. Yeah, because you haven't read your Old Testament. You haven't, and if you have, you researched some Judaism site, some Roman Catholic Church site. Oh, I hate the Roman Catholics so much. What should I not do? Oh, no, it's not like that. Just read the Bible for yourself, and you have problems with this. Read your Bible. Read more of your Bible. Oh, I found this problem in Exodus 12. Read all of Exodus. Start at the beginning. Make a motion picture in your mind on a piece of paper. What's going on here? Oh, the sea turned red. What's going on here? Oh, he went up the mountain. Let's see if Moses said the exact words that God told him to say. Let's do that as a study. Oh, he didn't. Oh, because you did a study? No, because I read it. Because it says he went back up the mountain. God called him back up the mountain and said, get thee down. Tell the people not to set bounds. He had misspoken. And we see that the Egyptian, this is funny too, the Egyptian, I thought for a long time it meant, instead of saying don't set bounds around the mountain, he told the people don't come against their wives. That to me is always, not always, but since I've learned the anatomy, the Venus mons is the medical term for the pubic bone, Mount Venus. That would be your later Greek. That wouldn't be later, that'd be prior. But no, somebody in a chat tonight was talking about how the ancient Ashmoroths, somebody in the ancient times, their goddess, which amongst other nasty things included what would be called the pubic bone. But yeah, the Venus mountain. So Moses saying set bounds around your mountain doesn't say set bounds around the mountain. He says don't come against your wives. It's a clear misspeak. He subtracted and added. In Deuteronomy 4:2, I hope that's the right one. Do not add, do not take away. Deuteronomy 12:32. That's an easy memory verse because 12:31, December 31st. You don't add to that to make it December 32nd. That's the New Year day. It's the New Year, and it's new. So 12:32. You don't add or subtract. Revelation 20-ish. Close enough for these folks in here. Who's in here today? Sherry, are you still here? That's probably the same question from 90 minutes ago. Do you think a person is saved even if they don't keep the feasts? No, not if they. It's all individual. It's part of the covenant. There's not even a question of salvation unless you're in covenant. Oh, what about that? Shut up. But what about this baby? Shut up. What about this guy that was on the moon and shut up. This is the very general. It's like the Sabbath. It's going to be so different from person to person, even within your own family. Your wife's a doctor and works Sabbath. Your work Walmart and only work 3 days a week. The general rules is what we go off of. Like Paul says, whatever. Okay, so anyway, you have to be, the feasts are part of the covenant. But they're not. What? The covenant is clearly, the blood covenant of Moses was clearly inclusive of the feasts. But clearly, but they were listed as judgments, like Supreme Court rulings already. You will do this forever. But no, if you don't know anything about it, you don't know. So the not knowing about it, if you want to exclude that, but no, yes, I would say it is a sin. So it's not going to be a sin on pretty much any occasion. I'll say when it is a sin, when you know you're in covenant and that is one of the judgments, and you've gotten in covenant. But yeah, clearly you don't know anything about it. Like I don't know, anybody today, us, the people I know, you probably, I don't know your position. The people that don't specifically do them because they think they were done away with. They're doing that sin out of ignorance. There was a sacrifice for that. They could easily repent. Yes, I guess that would be a sin of great ignorance, but it was also a sin of ignorance because of the deception of their teacher. So they are following one of the 10 commandments, even though they are breaking one of the judgments, which is in the covenant. The covenant specifically says several times in Scripture is only the 10, but we see reading the chronology, it's the 10 plus the judgments including the 3 feasts, the 7 added Sabbaths. That blood covenant of Moses that he did in blood, bull blood, representing the death of the offender, is renewed. We see that renewed in the Last Supper blood covenant, a sip of wine. That's how you renew the old blood covenant. No more blood, specifically no more blood. I am tired of the blood. The blood means death to the offender. There is no blood in this room tonight at this Last Supper. My blood covenant, my blood, which you have to drink, the blood of the new and the renewed and everlasting covenant. Oh, since we had the first 10 and the second 10, now we're going to do away with that and just do no. That is renewed in my blood. This is my blood. Sip of wine here in a common cup of sip of wine or passed around. We all agree we are now in covenant with Jesus. His blood does not represent death to the offender. His blood represents life. You get baptized into his death, don't you? If you're gonna, my point being, his blood represents life, such that, oh, cool, as long as I go murder and sin and adulterize, I am giving life to Jesus, or life to myself through Jesus. Because no, it's even way back at Deuteronomy, confess with your mouth and believe and circumcise the foreskin of your heart. They had no faith within the 40 days that they were told not to come against their wives. And knowing a human went up into a fiery furnace with no food or water, the people saw that Moses delayed to come down. But whose point of view is it when Moses delays to come down? The people, or do we have a standard, do you think a person is saved? Oh, yes. See, we don't even think, nobody is saved, and we don't even have that discussion. Nobody is saved until the resurrection. If you want to think that, like, can you lose? Maybe you could say, can you lose it? Yes, that might be a better way. Can you lose your salvation? Like we're saved already. We know we're saved already we have the faith of a future event happening because we are in covenant with him. I did not say because we are sinless. We are in covenant with him. That blood covenant of life that we can easily get into during any Passover or any baptism in the name of Jesus. Modern day Christianity, you get baptized in the name of Jesus, you're agreeing to follow Jesus, right? Jesus said, follow what the Pharisees say in synagogue when they sit on the Moses seat. When they sit on Moses' seat, they read from Scripture, and then they stand and discuss it. Or as you've seen in the movies, the Jesus standing, but he only read, as a Pharisee added law, you were to read 3 verses. Jesus just read like 1.5. He left out the part, so that was his first miracle, so to speak, of identifying him as the Messiah. After his arrest, they asked him, are you the Messiah? Well, actually, way before, I think it was on the Temple Mount. Tell us plainly, are you the Messiah? He says, I've told you. No, this would have to be at Pontius Pilate, or excuse me, this would have to be at Caiaphas. Tell us, are you the Messiah? He says, I told you. He read Isaiah and then closed the book. Oh, I'm going to cry. He says, this day. I got to get a drink. Oh, let me finish up on what we think the name is. So why would you search Passover if it's never called Passover? Well, it's because we learned that to call it Passover. Why don't we search out the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Well, probably because it's too much to type out. But again, you think that that is just a separate part of Passover. As a Christian, you think it's all been done away with, and now you eat Jesus and your priest drinks his blood and you listen to what he says. But lessons for tonight, Passover means in Hebrew sacrifice, let alone the sacrifice. Typically the sacrifice. It doesn't necessarily have to say ha in front of it. Oh, let me answer Sherry's question. I've been going off. Do you think a person is saved even if they don't keep the feast? Yes. Don't forget, we think saved comes at the resurrection, but I can talk your verbiage. Do you think a person is saved even if they don't keep the feasts? Yes, very much so. Even within the Hebrew roots, they will keep the feast wrong. Oh my God, they will do it just like Judaism. They'll get out the plate with the egg, and they'll have the wine and dip your finger in it and let it drip on the table. This is Dr. Nehemiah Gordon. What happened to Dr. Nehemiah Gordon? During the ritual, the never commanded part of Matzah Fest, you all sit around and read the 10 plagues, and as they read the first plague, you dip your finger in your wine they have in front of you and hold it over your empty plate. You don't have anything on there yet. I think there's bitter herbs maybe. And you have the choice to let it drip on the plate, or you can smooch it off your thing before you dip it again into the wine on the second plague. Same thing. Dip it in the wine. Third, dip it in the wine. Okay. While you're reading these plagues, you send a child to your front door because you're expecting Elijah. You have another plate set for him. Oh. Wow, that would be a tradition that would change. But there was specifically an empty plate after Judas left. No, he ate. He dipped the bread in the sop. Yeah, that's not. But no, it's a matter of like, hey, you're in covenant with Jesus. Do you understand? You got to do the feasts too. Simply, and let's so yeah, you read. So we learn about this in the chronological reading of Exodus. How do you do those feasts? And let me tell you, so that's my whole point here. What are we calling it? We're calling it Passover with a capital P, but Passover with a small p means like just the 14th, but Passover means the 7 or 8 day event. No, I'm telling you tonight, Passover means a 12-day event per Exodus 12. So what did they call these in the covenant? They did not call them Passover, big P, Passover, small p, or Matzah Fest. And the second feast is called weeks. Where's Jamie on this? Daniel 9 something, 70 Shavuot, the name of a feast, 70 weeks. It's called weeks. Look at Acts. When Paul meets this girl at a place by the river where you can pray, and she falls in love with his gospel and gets her whole household baptized. He went down there on the Sabbath. But in the Greek, it's plural. He went down there on the Sabbaths. Paul went down there on Shavuot. He's far away from Jerusalem. He went down by the river where there is a place to pray. Very well could be a synagogue, a place to pray. And met a woman who, he could have spoken in the synagogue, and the woman was the only one that got converted. Who knows? I'm just saying that in the Greek, it's plural. Why did KJV say Sabbath? Then on the Sabbaths went Paul down to a place by the river. Maybe it was many weekends, many weekly Sabbaths. No, it's not in the scripture. Chronologically. You look at the chronology of Paul. Dude, we got to go through a chronology of Paul. Paul, open up your Bible, your hard copy Bible, Google Paul's travels. Show me the part where he goes to Arabia. Just a little line showing him going down and coming back up. Doesn't even have to go over to Cyprus. Doesn't even have to cross the Mediterranean. Just show a little line. You're not going to find it. Open up your map in the back of your hard copy KJV, your hard copy any Bible. Open up your Bible map encyclopedia. Google. Show me where he's crossing the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba. I traced that red line one time. It looked like there's this little part where he just kind of like went out to the beach real quick. As he's going along, he kind of went along the beach because it showed him going. It literally showed it going around. When it says no, he didn't go around. What do we learn about the chronology? That when he says he went 3 days with no, and they were thirst, and they got to the bitter waters of Marah. This is not after the Red Sea. This is what we find out in our chronological studies. That is in Elam, and we know exactly where that helps because it proves like we didn't do it the other way around. Oh, it has to be here. No, everybody thinks it's after the Red Sea. It's before. Then 3 days journey in the wilderness as they were escaping. They came to the bitter waters of Marah, and the people were tested. But then the narrative, because that's an interjection, that's a reflection, a backflash, a flashback, a parenthetical. On the chronology alone, it's not a parenthetical in the story. Like, oh, and don't forget, to this day, we still talk about Moses, taking out of character the chronology. It's within the chronology. Then 3 days of journey into the wilderness. Now we assume that because it says, oh, they went into the wilderness of sin and this and that. But no. Go back real quick. This is what happened at Elam. And then they found the 12 palms, the oasis with 12 palms and 70 palms and 12 wells. 12 wells and 70 palms. I mean, we know where that is today. That's west of the Gulf of Aqaba. Not only, where is it? I'm going to mix that up. Regardless, we know they crossed the Red Sea, typically at the Gulf of Aqaba. They even found chariot wheels south of the middle crossing. We all think it's the underwater bridge. We all think it's there. They found chariot wheels there, but yes, very far south too, where the Gulf of Aqaba gets bigger, and then it turns into that second fingernail. Remember how we go to Google Maps to find the whole world in his hand because he's holding the Sinai Peninsula. So the Sinai Peninsula is in your hand, but there's two fingers that are kind of bent, and one of them is the Gulf of Aqaba. But within then on that fingernail, it's like there's a fingernail sticking out. That's the Gulf of Aqaba. Right at the base of that, it gets very, very shallow because there's a coral reef there. It turns very deep after that. But they found chariot wheels down there too. But it could be anything. So that we find out on our chronology that Elam and the 12 are on the west side, and this works out beautiful because that's how Moses passes by that sort of on his last trek before killing the giants. And you wouldn't have that if you didn't have the chronology, is all I'm saying. How would you teach? Is it a sin if you don't do the feasts? These are sins of ignorance that you have I would hope, a core. You got in covenant, you just don't know what you're doing, you were deceived. But it says, any truth that you were given, if you do not ask, seek, and knock for more, any truth you've been given is going to be taken away and you're not going to be given any more. So then you are definitely going to be in like, oh, I'm just following along, sitting there on my knees every Sunday, and I just hope I'm doing good. Come on, kids, we'll see you. We're going home. We'll see you the next week. Okay. No. That to me is something should be done about. Everybody's going to have to go through the fire, but those who are good, so to speak, they're going to be dancing like at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But if you think you're in covenant, you're deceived. But no, if you're seeking for more and you actually read and it's like, oh, should I be doing the feast? And you ask your pastor, hey, we're doing Sabbath. Should we doing feast? Or maybe even how you're doing Sabbath. The Jews are not doing the Sabbath good. They're doing it over good. It's not a burden. They've made it a burden. Paul says the heathen talk about you. I've heard about you. I pray for you because I've heard about you from the heathen. And you give God a bad name. You guys stink at your job. But your Exodus 12, we're just looking for a name before I take a break here. My mouth is, and answering, getting caught up on the chat. Do you think a person is saved? Even if it's the complete, even a person that says, no, I don't, I'm in covenant with Jesus. I got baptized. I don't have to keep the feasts. He's not understanding. Somebody in the Hebrew roots is like, we get it. You got to do the feasts, and then they complain that there's no temple, so they're going to do their own righteousness. They're not understanding also that there was never a need for the temple. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you, the name of the feasts. Okay, so we find this. If you the commands, statutes, and judgments are in Exodus, not 12, 20 to 24:8, because Exodus 24:8, Moses writes it down, and that is what the covenant is. The blood God never commanded of what Moses wrote down, and he does not have the 2 tablets yet. He takes the written down, blood sprinkled on it with hyssop and water and blood, takes it up to the Lord with 70 elders. The marriage feast, a 7-day marriage feast, and then Moses stays an additional 33 days, or 40, depending on how you want to read it, it doesn't matter, with no bread or water, learning how to build a tabernacle. Notice how learning how to build the tabernacle comes long after the blood covenant. Learning how to build the tabernacle comes long after the blood covenant, the marriage feast. The never commanded by God blood of bulls, blood covenant, renewed in the blood of Jesus at the Last Supper. That blood representing life if you break it. If somebody, like Sherry's question, what's a simpleton? I've always just celebrated Easter and Christmas. Yeah, same here. Why are you tired of celebrating the 3 commanded feasts? Are you tired of partying for 12 days? I throw a 12-day party for Passover, capital P, Passover, small p, Feast of Unleavened Bread, capital F-U. That's hilarious. But I just call it Matzah Fest, but it's a 12-day party. Like you would party in Jerusalem if you went to Jerusalem to do it. Shavuot. The oat means plural of Shavua. 7 or week. It's the exact same word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shavua. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 week. I think it just means, like, there's no word for a week, but they just know that every time you say 7, it means week, something like that. Shavuot, plural of week, weeks. The oat means it's plural. Shavuot, weeks. You count 7 weeks. And after that, the day after. The only commanded Sunday, holy Sunday, Sabbath, in a 360, 365 day year. And you want to know if it's okay to do Easter. You can do Easter because the chocolate bunny represents the brown wood of the cross, the grass that you put the cherry filled chocolate bunny on, the green grass represents the thorns of Jesus. You've been bamboozled. And it's Paul's observing Passover when he's talking about some eat meat only, some eat bitter herbs only. This is Passover. The uncircumcised can't eat of the Passover, the meal, not the feast, not the event, the party. The new Passover, actual leavened bread for 5 days and then unleavened bread for 7, is the new lamb. That's the new, what you do in remembrance of the last Passover lamb. Now that's the 12-day event. So yeah, let's go look for the name of it. It's sorry to get off of that. I think you get the idea, and I'm over talking it. And the Lord spake unto Moses, speak unto the children of Israel that they turn on the camp before Power, before Migdol, before it shall come to pass the Philistines and will harden Pharaoh's. Yeah, way back after 24:8, when he makes a blood covenant. When he makes the blood covenant, he goes up into the mount. Chapter 25, Exodus. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they bring an offering of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take an offering. This is how to build the tabernacle. The feasts, after that 70 men thing, the name of the feasts that we read about from Exodus 20 through 24:8, we know, everybody knows, where's the 10 commandments? That's Exodus 20. So we simply keep reading after that so that we know that that's what we are in covenant with. But notice the change of words. These are the judgments. It's no longer God speaking. And the Lord says, they shall, let's see, Exodus 20, 20, we'll just start with the 10 commands. We'll end with the 10 commands, verse 18, and all the people saw the thunderings. When you see the thunderings, it's lightning so close, it's thundering, boom. Verse 22, and the Lord spake unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me, you don't make to the Father, gods of silver. That's a crucifix. Neither shall ye make unto you, don't have a fake God, a God of gold. An altar of the earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings. This is not a temple offering. This is what Cain and Abel, Noah, Abraham did, burnt offerings. It's when you cook food at a location for a period of time. You're going to kill a cow. You kill a cow, you don't put it in the refrigerator. You have a feast. Thy peace offerings, your free choice peace offering to actually give something to the Lord and eat it. Don't you give thanksgiving every time you eat because he's given you in abundance? That's your peace offerings. Your burnt offerings, your peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen, and all thy places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt make it of built of hewn stone. For if you lift up a tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Pollutions of idols. If you have lifted up a stone unto me for a silver temple god that you have made for me. Right, now we see. So if these are added to the Ten Commandments, it still sounds like it's the Ten Commandments. Why don't we see this in the Ten Commandments? These are added commands. We're going to see within the judgments there's added commands. This doesn't mean they're part of the Ten Commandments. An altar of your earth shall make me, and if you shall make it with an altar of stone, don't bring a tool, otherwise you pollute it. Neither shalt thou go up unto mine altar that with thy steps, neither shalt thou go up by steps to mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Chapter 21. Now these are the judgments. Here we go. Clearly, I told you need to follow the commands, statutes, and judgments per Torah. The commands are the 10 commands. The statutes are the feasts. We'll see here clearly in a minute. We've read before that they're ordinances forever throughout your generation. Commands, statutes, and judgments. Okay, so here's the judgments that you need to follow. They're going to sound weird to you. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, if you go to work at Walmart and submit to that as your master 6 days a week, you get the Sabbath off. So does he. You're only supposed to work for him 6 years and then go out free. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he come in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, if he meets this wife of his at Walmart, who promised me to be there 6 years, I've given her room and board, I've paid her, she can go out on the weekend, do with her money what she wants. At the end of 6 years, she's not going to be sleeping in a common room with a bunch of other workers. She's going to have her own, we're going to give her a bunch of money, she's going to be out and do her own thing. Same with a man. Man's going to say, hey, I'm going to come to you. You're going to put him up for the night in your bunkhouse with a bunch of other guys that are working for you. You're going to feed him every day, clothe him, give him clothes right away so he's not embarrassed in front of his kids, it says in Scripture. And he works for you every day at saving up, and after 7 years, he goes away, you give him money. But if he goes there and meets one of your other workers and gets married, no, he can't take her. So you better be careful who you marry, is all it's saying. Not like, oh, that's terrible. Kunta Kinte's wife got dragged away from him. They got separated. And God's saying the same thing here in chapter 21. If his master have given him a wife, if Kunta Kinte's master gave Kunta Kinte's wife, or gave Kunta Kinte a wife, and she have from him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters. She stays here. Kunta Kinte, you go. I don't know what accent I was using there. And he shall go out by himself. No, it's not like that. You got a job at Walmart. She got a job at Walmart. Walmart's the master. You're going to be there 6 years. You're in a contract. Maybe you owe them. Maybe you tried to steal a bull, and now you got to pay back 5 bulls. And you're going to work for them at these wages. I'll give you a room and board. I'll feed you every day. I'll give you a place to sleep, clothes, family. If you bring it, you'll read about it if you have family. But no, if a husband comes along, he's not going to take you away. He can marry you. People get married and go off to war all the time. He can marry you and move away himself and trust that he's going to come back. Well, sure, why not? What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. Ben Cartwright did that. He went to China. Haas was in charge. Whatever Haas said to the bunkhouse servants, he was Ben, even though he's Haas, just like Jesus, talking on behalf of, but only those words, because Moses misspeaks. Moses specifically told God, I am of uncircumcised lips. Oh, that means he stuttered. If you look at the chronology, we find out he went up and down the mountain 7 times, 8 times if you count the non-burning bush, 9 if you count after Kadesh Barnea, but it's not really clear yet. I haven't really figured out what's going on there because it's the weirdest thing to read in Deuteronomy. Oh, he went here, 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 and he's finally done with everything. And then the next verse is, thus I stayed in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights as before. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? What I just read that you went and killed 2 giant kingdoms or something, whatever the chronology is. I'm just saying, if we figure it out together, let's start at Exodus 12. This is how you do Passover with a capital P, Matzah Fest. It's 12 days. Well, what did he call it in these judgments? We'll skip through these judgments real quick because they're weird. If you have a Hebrew servant, do you hear the word slave in there? And anywhere do you hear in the words like 1850s American? No, servant. Keep it, and if the servant, and then his master. We're going to scan through this real quick. If a man with his daughter as a maid servant. Oh, this is interesting. You might think this weird. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maid servant, here, honey, go down to the livery stable. What's that called? Where the guy pounds on the steel, ching, to makes the horseshoes. The livery stable. Go on down to the livery stable and work for that guy every day. Bring him water. He not only gets hot, but he needs it because he puts a lot of his molten metal in water and it evaporates, and he needs fresh water and everything. Go down there and carry water for him as a servant. Go down there every day. Agree to do exactly what he says, to wear exactly what he tells you to wear, what to say, how much water to get, just like your Walmart job. They tell you what to wear or not wear, what to say, what not to say. Listen to this. Chapter 21 of Exodus, part of the judgments that you should be in contract with in God when you accept Jesus into your heart. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men's servants do. Remember how I was telling you how you get them all, you may have a bunch of guys. Yeah, they don't come and go like that. The servant, the male servant, there shouldn't be any. There's laws in there. If you put his eye out, you let him go free. You don't whip him too hard. But it sounds like you still drive him hard. Okay, but there's consequences for too much. Here it's telling you specifically you don't treat the maidservant like that. You'd tell her to go down to the livery stable and get water for that guy all day, 8 hours a day, and he'll give you some good cash. That's what we're talking about. But listen to this. This is genius. This is genius. Listen to this. Exodus 21 verse, we'll start at 7 again. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant to the livery stable guy just to carry water, to keep that water refilled and keep him nice and cool so he can do those cool things with the water, she shall not go out. She shall not be fired. She shall not 6 years and in the 7th year get a bunch to do on her own. She shall not do like that, nor be given the chance to get her eye poked out, nor be given the chance to be whipped. You can hurt your servant to pressure him, it sounds like, but no, you can't do any. If you knock his tooth out, you let him go. So don't even punch him. Oh my God, what? Oh, so I'm going to take a whip to his back. No, I wouldn't break the skin. I wouldn't punch him in the back. This isn't slavery. He's agreeing to this. This is the guys in the bunkhouse that are willing to work for you, to go mend the fence line, to go run your cattle, to go do this, to go do that. It's the same thing Walmart. You're agreeing. You're not going to come to an agreement if you don't want to do it, or if you're not capable. Like in the movie The Cowboys, where the cowboys were actually like, well, I don't know what like 12-year-olds or whatever. They were boys, not men. If she please not her master. If she please not her master. She's bringing water for you. How could she not please you? If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, Then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a strange nation. He shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. Thank you. See? And if ye have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters, and he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these things, three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smiteth a man so that he die, shall he surely be put to death. This is not only thou shalt not murder, this is in reference to the servants, your Walmart worker, your water carrier. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into and now he's going to go into specifics of murder. Like you go into the forest and you accidentally hit the hammer and the thing goes flying and kills the guy. You are the only witness. The other guy's dead. It could have been, and it's with a hammer. It looks like you bludgeoned him to death. Okay, but you need to explain to the family, no, I was axe and the axe went flying back, okay, and killed him. It wasn't, and then they give another scenario. But listen to the name of the feast. I got to take a break, get a drink here. A man smite his servant in the eye, or lose his eye, or his maid or perish, let him go free. If a man steal an ox or sheep and you kill it and sell it, if you are found in the middle of thievery, you can shoot the thief. If you meet your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, don't ignore it. If you take no gift in judgment, because the gift blindeth the wise. Where are we at here? Chapter 23, verse 9. Also, thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Here we go. Verse 10. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest, and be still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beast of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyards and with thy olive yards. This is the land rest. They were kicked. They were 490 years of judges. They get 70 years of captivity because they did not do 7 years of land rest, as witnessed by in Deuteronomy 32. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall distill like dew upon the tender herb, like the showers upon the grass. Something like that. This is since we read in that these are the judgments that are in addition to the commands within the covenant. These are the judgments. This is part of the judgments. But the 7th year that shalt let it rest, and lie still, and the poor and those. Verse 12, 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid, and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the names of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. January, the god of Janus. July, Julius Caesar. August, Augustine Caesar. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Here it is. Exodus, this is part of your blood covenant. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the month, and the time appointed, Abib, for in that month camest thou out from Egypt, and none shall go up before me empty. Go up where? To the Passover, the 12-day spring event that begins on the 10th, that you don't need a temple for, that you've never needed a temple for. And the feast, verse 16, and the feast of harvest. What the hell pardon my French, is the Feast of Harvest. We've just read 23 chapters of Exodus, and I don't remember seeing anything about a Feast of Harvest. And here I got to sign up for it in Judgments. What is the Feast of Harvest? Answer in comments, tap pause, come back. Oh, I'll give you a clue. And in all things that I have said unto, I'm sorry, the light is bad. It's 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. And don't forget, the unleavened bread feast has a meal that takes 5 days to prepare. The Passover lamb. You choose it on the 10th and keep it up. The Last Supper, do this in remembrance of the last Passover lamb. Take leavened bread, regular leavened bread, break it with friends at a party. These are the name of the feast. 3 times in the year shall come. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread and the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field. That's in the fall, right? The feast of harvest. That's in the fall, right? Three times, verse 14, chapter 23, Exodus 23, 14. Do we need to keep the feasts? Yes, they are in the covenant and we don't even know what they are yet. It turns out they're parties. One's for 12 days. Then there's one Sunday, but a Sunday Sabbath party is always going to be adjacent to this weekly Sabbath. There's a weekend party that we learn later, quite honestly, you just throw a party. No, there's nothing about to bring in a sacrifice, nothing about a Passover lamb. Oh, there is for the priests, but we're not a priest. We don't have to go up to the temple for literally anything. But when is this? And the Feast of Harvest. Well, it tells you right there, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field. You planted corn. Here it is fall, the Feast of the Harvest. And here's one more feast. We'll continue in verse 16. And the Feast of Ingathering, which is then in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of thy field. Oh, so there's 2 harvests. But listen to these titles. You shall keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's matzah. Matzah is unleavened bread. You shall keep the Feast of Matzah. You shall keep Matzah Fest. The Feast of Harvest, that you know as Pentecost. My God, where I try to do my best, Higgins. The feast, you are commanded 3 times in the year to keep the Feast of Passover, the Feast of Pentecost. Oh my God. Oh, that was too slow. Oh my God. That was too English. Yeah. Magnum. Oh my God. No, the Feast of Harvest is what it's called. Mike, do you keep the feasts? Yeah, I keep Matzah Fest. Matzah Fest? What the heck's that? Well, if you don't know what Matzah Fest is, you're not going to know what the Feast of Harvest is. Oh, and then the third one, because the Feast of Harvest is not in the fall. The Feast of Harvest, which is Shavuot, not Pentecost. That's why I'm making so much fun of this. It's Shavuot. We get the Pentecost. We know where we get it from. My lips are. I'm dying of thirst here. And the Feast of Harvest and the Feast of Ingathering. So, yes, we need to do the feasts because they're in the judgments. They're not. If it's a fun time, why would it even be a question if it's a salvific issue? With the law written on your heart, with you wanting to do the law, you should want to have a party for God 3 times a year. And if one of those parties coincides Shavuot, Pentecost, with a Sunday, it's going to be a Sunday no matter what. It sounds like only one Sunday out of the year is holy. To say, oh yeah, Jesus is our Sunday, now we do Sunday because of added to Scripture, does it not? Anyway, I'm getting so dry. To continue on, just to finish up, because this is the blood covenant that you're trying to get, this is the judgments part of the blood covenant you're trying to get grafted into, you're trying to get in covenant with at your baptism with Jesus. Finally, in verse 17, 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain unto the morning. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. It's not even seed, it's cook. You don't cook your Passover lamb. Your yearling cannot be still unweaned. It must be weaned. We learn later in the law that a 10-day-old, you can pull it off of its mommy to do a whole burnt offering, not like where you eat, where it's weaned, but this specifically is for, because look at this. The first of the fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's midst. Behold, well, it must be before that. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread. Okay. When you do Matzah Fest for 12 days, 7 of those days you have no leaven in your house. The 15th and the 21st is always going to be a Sabbath. So since it's 7 days long, there's going to be a Sabbath somewhere in between there. And the morrow after that Sabbath is the day of first fruits, where you did your first fruits barley sheaf wave offering. You wave a sheaf of wheat in the air. Wow. So hard to do. If I went to Jerusalem, to the priest, and it specifically says you give it to the priest at that time. We're the priests. I will make you priests and kings. I am a priest. I am a king in the future, so to speak. The first of the first fruits. So what if on the 15th, what if on the 21st, the Sabbath falls on the 21st? That means the Sabbath was on the 14th as well. Not the 15th, it means it was on the 14th as well. If the Sabbath is on the 21st, that added Sabbath also of the 21st. Doesn't matter, I'm just saying the weekly Sabbath falls on the 21st. That means your day of first fruits is going to be outside. It's going to be on the 22nd. It's going to be outside. It's going to be the next day. It's going to be outside of that 12-day Matzah Fest. So right here, it's clarifying for you. 3 times in the year, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread. The blood of the blood of the sacrifice, the only sacrifice ever commanded yet, is for Passover. And the blood you are to dump, you are to slit its throat. It's never commanded. There's no priest in Egypt. You don't take it to a priest. You at home slit its throat, put its blood in a pail, and dump it out on the ground like water. Dumping it out on the ground like water means you throw it out really hard and fast and let as much as it come out of the pail as you can, just like water. You don't slowly dump it on the water on the ground, like, that's not how you do water. That's how you may water a plant. But if you're throwing bath water out of your tent, you throw it to spray it out, to spread it out. You do the same thing with this blood of your lamb. You would throw it on the ground like water. You would spread it widely across so that it would disperse greatly in droplets and not pool and coagulate and be nasty and be stepped in. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice. The last day that's the 14th. When you kill the lamb, that's when you offer that blood, you pour it on the ground like water. You shall not offer that blood with leavened bread. That means the leavened bread ends on that day also. The 14th is the last day for leavened bread. You sacrifice it. You sacrifice your lamb on the 14th. And you can have leaven in your house up to that point, even leavened bread. But way prior to sundown, at some point, you are going to be taking that lamb out of the oven and carving it up and such, and you can't have any leaven in the house to contaminate it. So get the leaven out of your house throughout the course of the 14th so that it is completely done by the 15th. You should have known. When we know when Aviv 1 is, that's when we start spring cleaning around here. And we spring clean to get leaven out of the house, except for where I know it is specifically. Like my bread over there, and I clean like the entire apartment, and I haven't moved that bread. I haven't brought any more bread into my house. No more Burger King into my house. No more Domino's. The way I get through Matzah Fest, the 12-day feast, the 7-day part of that where you can't have any leaven, I eat crunchy Taco Bell and KFC. I think original KFC, but I'm not sure on that. There's no leaven. The name of these feasts are called Matzah Fest, Harvest, Ingathering. Matzah Fest, Harvest, Ingathering. At this point, and there's no temple needed for anything, but you need to go to the place to do it, which he will name later. He won't even name it until, I don't even think he names it throughout the entire Acts. He keeps saying throughout, even Leviticus, Deuteronomy, it's like, he never names it. He doesn't name it until, I will, in the place that I will show you, in the place where I will place my name, in the place where I will place my name, in the place where my son will come. 3 times in the year. Oh, so thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. Remember the sacrifice, the blood, when you ate it in haste, you burnt the leftovers. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread. This is if your Sabbath, if your weekly Sabbath falls on the 14th, the day of the Passover, remember one of the rules of the Sabbath was except that every man can eat. The 14th being a Sabbath randomly that year because it fell on a weekend, a Saturday. The next day should be your day of first fruits, where you do your barley sheaf wave offering. But it's also going to be while you're eating the meal, the actual Passover meal. It says, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread. There's only one sacrifice, Passover sacrifice. You do that. You offer the blood. Do not offer it with leavened bread. Make sure there's no leaven in the house by the 14th, the time that you're killing the lamb. No yeast on the wool of the lamb. No yeast in its eyeballs. Do not offer the sacrifice. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. Okay, why isn't he going to pardon our transgressions? I thought we had a sacrifice for that. No, not yet. And he's not the final judge that you're going to. This is still what he's writing down for the blood covenant yet to happen. This is what he's writing down as he went up there. His third time up the mountain. This is what God is telling him are the judgments. And within these judgments, there are these three feasts. There are these commands of feasts. The name of the feasts are Matzah Fest, Harvest, and what was the other one? It was supposed to be a memory verse, Ingathering. I got to take a break. We got the name of the feasts. You do it 3 times a year. It's a statute. We'll find out it's a statute forever. And your big discussions on, do I have to do Passover? Do I get to do Passover? Do I get to throw a party for 12 days? Do I get to do the feast of ingathering and throw a party for 2 days? Do I get to do the party of the feast of the party of? Do I get to do the party of the ingathering? And let's look at how long that is. 8 minimum days. 8, because it's 7 always, but there's always an added Sabbath on the 8th day. Thank you, Jesus. But the 7th month, it seems to be patterned after the first month as well. The 7th month, on the first day of the first month, you have the trumpets. On the 10th, you have Day of Atonement. On the 1st of Aviv, you're looking for that renewed moon, because once I know this year the 1st of the Aviv is this date, I am going to start clean. Otherwise, if it's an added 13th month, then I will know that I have a month to wait before my spring cleaning starts. It's the same in the 7th month. The 1st of that month is very important. Day of Trumpets, not a feast, a Sabbath, but not an added Sabbath, but not a feast. There's only 3 feasts, remember. Passover, it's not even called Passover. We're not a Matzah Fest, Harvest, and Ingathering. That ought to confuse the hell out of them. Let's keep it to that. Let's do that as a memory verse, as you do only those names. Ingathering. So on the 10th, you do the Day of Atonement. On the 15th is an added Sabbath for the start of the Feast of Ingathering, which is 7 days. But the 7th day, the 21st, is not like in the month of the Aviv. And for Matzah Fest, it is not an added Sabbath. It's moved over a day. Like the added Sabbath of back during Matzah Fest, at Ingathering, at Harvest, Shavuot, there was an added Sabbath next to and it's always going to be next to the weekly Sabbath, so it's kind of like 2. But it's 50 days after that. Now in the 7th month, we have a Sabbath after a feast, but it's immediately the day after, so it's really an 8 days. That's always on the 22nd. And the same thing, you do no servile work. You don't go to your Walmart job. You don't, and this is this is the very generalized point of view. You don't do your Walmart job, and Walmart should not be open if they're part of it. But no, quite frankly, Cops got to work. Doctors got to work on the Sabbath. Nurses. Baby formula is poison if you don't heat it up. If you're afraid to heat something up on the Sabbath, because it says don't kindle a fire. You haven't listened to a word I said. That is nowhere in this covenant that you just made with God. These words, there's nothing in there about don't kindle a fire or don't kindle a fire. What's the other one? The weird ones. Don't come out of your house to get manna. You'd be put to death. Presumptuously was gathering sticks. Oh, kindling a fire. Yeah, that's kindling a furnace to melt down the gold, silver. That's a job. But yeah, let me check the comments. I'm not a similar. I've always. Oh yeah, don't do Easter. That's what I'm saying. What are you tired of of partying 3 times a year for God and now you want to do something additional? Like, even as a choice, I want to do something additional at Easter. What is Easter? You know how you figure Easter? Before I go, how do you figure Easter? It sounds like Magi, the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the spring equinox. That's the rules on how to have Easter. Yeah, that way we can all collectively do it together and honor Jesus. Oh, well, isn't that just brilliant? Let's do something so pagan. Let's look at the stars and worship the stars. The first Sunday after the first full moon, after the spring equinox. That's when Easter. That's why Easter varies. Yeah. Well, I wonder where they got that from. What's wrong with a 12-day party honoring Jesus by eating bread? Sometimes unleavened, sometimes leavened. Come on, brothers. It's easy peasy. It's fun. You don't divide the commandments up into the first half are for God and the second half are for love your neighbor. Because in there is a Sabbath that was made for you. You. If you don't forget, part of that taking that Sabbath off is you have to work 6 days. You have to work 6 days to get that Sabbath off. So yes, doctors have to work, nurses have to work. Baby formula is poison unless it's heated up. You're going to have to, that doctor, that cop, that whoever has to work, me at Walmart. Oh, you have to work this day. Luckily, I got my Sabbath off geniusly. 7 in the morning till 10 p.m. Saturday night. Because I worked overnights and had 2 days off and it worked out like that. It's like genius. And then my work, like, so to speak, on Sunday, ridiculous. Fun and easy, fun and easy. Oh, shoot. Yeah, we're taking a break and I was saying something important. I lost my train of thought. All right, well, talk to you soon. I wish I had some copyright-free music for y'all to listen to, but all I've got is a sign. Oh, and where's my little roly-toly thing? Yeah, I wish I had some copyright-free music to play for you guys because this is ridiculous. The choices they give you on the free StreamYard. Yeah, we'll just do it like this. Omaha, Nebraska, taking a break. Famous for maybe Reuben sandwiches, but famous for what? Famous for Strategic Air Command. Famous for who knows? Oh, it's 7 miles from Omaha is Bellevue. Strategic Air Command. This is a very good, easy reference to for Jerusalem to Bethlehem. Very is 7 miles. So yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes here. Where's my cool sign? Back in 5, does that say back in 5? And then you can still see. Hopefully, maybe, not one jot, 1028. No, because the paper's in the way. That's fine, that's fine, we don't care. It shows that there's a possibility. You can see my teetsy. Okay, we're gonna take a little break. And oh, where are we at here? Welcome back from my late night. What do you think? Nah, just teasing y'all. Just teasing y'all. We'll be back right back here in a minute. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hang on here. Just we'll be right back. Yeah, the link should be pinned. Hit a comment. Hit a comment. Hit a comment if you want to come up or whatever, or whatever. You know what I mean. All right, 12-day spring moed. The moed is the feasts. This is a biblical line calendar for the month of the Aviv. The month of the Aviv with an asterisk. What's the asterisk? If the 21st is a Sabbath, so is the 14th. The 15th, therefore, then would qualify, if the 21st is a Sabbath, the 15th would qualify for, quote, morrow after the Sabbath, unquote, per Exodus 22, 29. When the 14th and 21st are weekly Sabbaths, the command to kill and cook on the 14th is appropriate. Sabbath work per Exodus 12:16, quote, no work, except that which every man must eat. So simply, that's what the asterisk means. The month of the Aviv, that is you can Google that and you will get 3 references in your, just say Aviv, Google that word, Aviv, KJV, Aviv, KJV, and it'll give you the 3 references that it's the month of the Aviv that you do Matzah Fest. For those of you just tuning in, it's not Matzah Fest, it's Passover. It's unleavened bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Feast of Unleavened Bread when the Passover must be killed. Yeah, we'll go over that sometimes. Anyway. Where are we at here? Aviv. Oh, so this is a biblical line calendar of the month of the Aviv on any given year, showing the when commands of what? The first spring moed. Oh, by golly, and you know what? Oh, that's not a good thing. Okay, anyway. We'll say it again. This is a biblical line calendar of any given year. This is how you do the first spring moed. This is how you do the first spring moed. So we see, let me try to fill up the whole screen here. On the 10th, remember, what do we do on the 10th? You choose your lamb on the 10th. Choose your lamb. What are we doing on the 11th? Keep, and the 12th, it up, and the 13th, keep it up. But on the 14th, kill and cook. right? Kill and cook on the 14th. On the 15th, it's a high Sabbath, an added Sabbath. You eat and burn. See that arrow? That's from the 15th. Somewhere in there, that, oh, and there it is at the bottom. That arrow means it's there, you're going to have a weekly Sabbath in there. But if the Sabbath falls on this day, if the Sabbath falls on this day, it means it also fell on this day. You would have your first fruits that day. Because if you had it the next day after, that would be outside your 12-day feast. And there's a little line in Leviticus or something that says, don't delay to do your first fruits. So this whole don't delay to do your first fruits, because your first fruits let me show you again. Hmm. Yeah, because if that is a weekly Sabbath, it means the 14th is a weekly Sabbath. The day after that weekly Sabbath, the 21st, you don't want to do it that day. He said, don't delay to, and you would, so you would, there, you have a choice that day or that day. You can do it too early, or you can do it too late. And one of this line says, do not delay to give me your first fruits. And everybody's like, oh, yep, that just means it's very important. No, if you've ever tried to do this feast and you're trying to figure out what the heck Sabbath, oh, Sabbath here, Sabbath here, and then one year, oh, the Sabbath, what if the Sabbath is here? Oh my God, what do we do? Yeah, well, some people doing it out here and some people are doing back here. No, let's just read let's go back, like Paul says, let's read the law, the commands, statutes, ordinance, judgments, and so that every mouth may be shut. And it says there's a little line in there somewhere that says, do not delay to do your first fruits. All right, so what are we getting at here? One of that, somewhere in there is going to be an added Sabbath. So yes, we see it's 12 days. There's a 12-day. Now what you need to do is just figure out when Aviv 1 is every year. And you can just transpose it to this. Because once you find out when your personal calendar, everybody's got their different calendars, and everybody wants to fight with everybody over the calendars. Dude, I'll tell you what, I think it's genius. I think God designed it so it'd be confusing enough that everybody uses a different calendar, but we're all looking for Aviv first. We're all looking for Aviv 10. We're all looking for Aviv 14, 15, 21. Okay, our ways of like celebrating it or something maybe funky wild or some such, who knows? But so we all know that it's a pilgrimage feasts. You only do these feasts in the place that God places a name. That's Jerusalem. But now he's in your heart. Jesus is in your heart, so really it's with you. So like wherever you want to go, blah blah blah. No, you still want to go to Jerusalem for like how to do it, but you're essentially doing it the same. After Jesus, you're essentially doing it the same as if you're doing it in your hometown. You guys are priests and kings, so to speak. What? Well, not until after the resurrection. Well, fine. Start acting like one. Even princes are under nannies and governors. Start acting like a prince if you think you're going to be a king. And the king, it's thy kingdom come. It's not thy kingdom go to. Heaven is coming to us. There's a physical bodily resurrection. Jesus in heaven above is spirit. Anytime he comes to earth, he left his body here in dust. He can collect it anytime he wants. But he's coming back. In fact, he is coming back with clouds of spirits that were the first fruits on the day Jesus, Jesus having the Last Supper. I'm going to look at it and try to, if I can hold this steady, I'll tell you what, I'll talk it so I can hold it. We'll put it like this. So what? I can put this. I don't know if this is going to work. But we definitely want it stable. And then we'll just move the camera. No, no. Mm. I'll get the reflection later, but I'm trying to get the full, jeez. But I can't, yeah, you can't twist this without unscrewing, and my legs are in the wrong, sorry, so sorry. Okay, here we go. So that you can get nice, close. Yeah, see, it can't go. We don't want to do it like that. Oh, come on, dude. Oh, yeah. Okay, so 10. It still doesn't matter. Can't get over that unless what? The angle? Are you kidding me? Come on. We're not going to go. There's no way we could. We're down. There's no way. We're going a different route. Oh, this would be a good time to test my microphone. Walking far away from my microphone to see if this thing can still hear me. This would be a good time to check it out. But yeah, we're gonna try a different route instead of the shiny paper thing. We're just gonna get the exact same copy on a piece of paper. No shiny paper. So just give me a half a second here, and we will get yada yada. If freely available. Know what I mean, Jelly Bean? We ain't gonna spend a lot of time on this. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, still looking. It should be just right here. Just a matter of, like which page and such. All right, let's try this bad boy here. Yeah, see, it's gonna mess up the thing. That's why we can't loosen that, dude, man. See, what the hell? Oh, yay! All right, we got levelness. Let's just go for left and then we got left and rightness. By golly, I think we're looking pert near professional there. So yeah, now we can so that just shows everything down to what? Boop 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 boop. Do 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 do. That's exactly what we need. And now we just hope that we can show what? What are we going to show? Exodus 12, 5 times it says, on the 10th of the Aviv, ye shall choose your lamb, take it out. 3 times, take it out. And then 2 times, keep it up till the 14th. You keep it up in your house. Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the Last Supper, the arrest, kept in captivity, 3 roosters here, 3 denials here by sleeping and cutting off some dude's ear, subtracting and adding. You got to tell Peter 3 times. He denied him before sunrise. Jesus is arrested, imprisoned. See this, the keep it up. That means in your house. You take that lamb, choose your lamb, keep it up, kill and cook. The 15th is a high Sabbath always. This is going to be 10, 11, 12, always. What happened? It's just a matter of what happens on those days. On the 10th, you choose. And these 7 days here, the 15th, is this here. See the arrow there? No leavened bread shall be found in your households. Well, in Jerusalem or in Omaha, Nebraska, USA, who cares? I'm separating. There's 7 days of a 12-day feast. This 7-day feast has a special meal that you start on the 10th. You choose it, keep it up, kill and cook it. On this 15th high Sabbath, the first day of these 7 days, you have no leaven in your bread, your household. It is an added Sabbath, whether it's a weekly Sabbath or not. You eat it. This is called a Passover Seder. Any of y'all checking out, like, oh, how I suddenly find the Old Testament interesting. How did they do How am I supposed to do Passover is quite different than how did they used to do Passover. Don't forget, anything Judaism, Old Testament, they sent prophets to these peoples because they were doing it wrong. All right? Let's get it right this time. This time. I can go on forever. Let's get it right. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He's kept up. When you eat it, you kill from the going down of the sun right here. When the 13th ended, definitely after its sundown, and you've probably seen some stars. The 14th has started. You have permission. You probably want to, if you're smart, to start here. The kids are asleep. They're not going to see what you're doing. All of a sudden, the lamb is killed. You want a Christmas surprise? Oh, here's Christmas right here on the 10th. Oh, we're celebrating Jesus. This is Jesus. Let's keep him in our house for 4 days. Where's Jesus? He's on the table, honey. Oh my God. Yeah, do my best, Higgins. So the 14th is when you kill and cook it. But the Passover Seder, what's come to be known as the Passover Seder, the 15th, when you're actually eating it. It is the 15th is always a high Sabbath, or the weekly Sabbath. You eat it in haste, car keys in hand. And I think a kid is, quite frankly, is commanded to say, what did this stuff used to mean? The Old Testament. This is Old Testament, but this is just what you do on these days. Before Jesus, there was an actual lamb that you chose, kept up, killed. Coincidentally, Jesus was crucified then. And it was and after 3 days. You eat and burn. You eat and burn. You eat and burn what is left over. You eat quickly. You roast it whole. Its poo, its head, its legs. You eat it in haste, car keys in hand. What you do not eat, you do not leave till morning. You burn it. During these 7 days, one of these days is going to be a Sabbath, a weekly Sabbath, because that's what that question mark means. And the question mark means, it's just out of your sight. The question mark means there's a weekly Sabbath. Will fall somewhere in here. And the morrow after that Sabbath is your first fruits, barley sheaf wave offering. So we say the 14th is a Wednesday. The 15th is going to be the high Sabbath they needed to get him off the cross for, and they want to break his legs. And then a regular day, Friday, but also a preparation day, but a regular day, Friday, the 16th. A regular work day where the women could buy the spices. But a preparation day for the weekly Sabbath on the 17th. There's nothing, there's perfectly wrong, nothing. In fact, all your Sabbaths mentioned in Matthew, Mark, and Luke prior to that are plural, and after that are singular. Or excuse me, vice versa. So they're singularly getting him off the cross for a Sabbath, whether it's the weekly Sabbath or what we say would be the high Sabbath only. They say it's a high Sabbath and the weekly Sabbath also. We say it's 2 days before the Sabbath he's speaking of, and it's a singular because it's the 15th. For that Sabbath was a high Sabbath. If it was that weekly Sabbath, a couple days later, at his resurrection, but no, if that was way back here at the cross, like, that is a weekly Sabbath, they would not have said, let's break his legs for that Sabbath was a high Sabbath. It primarily, I don't know how you say it, excludes that it's a weekly Sabbath. It could not be a weekly Sabbath simply by the verbiage, is what I'm saying. And you don't need to be like a verbiage expert. It's just the way it's saying. But no, so this is how they did it back in the day. What are we supposed to do today? Right back here is the Catholics say this is the Last Supper. They say it was a Passover Seder. They say he took unleavened bread and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, take this, eat, all of ye. This is my body, which is broken. I give unto you. Do this in remembrance of me. The Protestants, whether it's Lutheran, Presbyterian, Southern Baptist, it doesn't matter their belief on, and they call this, the Catholics call it the Eucharist with a capital E. You guys call it communion with a capital C. Y'all say Seventh-day Adventist. Deontay, where are you at, brother? Clip this. His Last Supper was not on the 14th. It was the 10th. Well, it was the 10th going into the 11th. He was chosen on the 10th at his Jerusalem triumphal entry by the priests. Before that, he said, you're not going to see me until you say, Baruch atah Yahovah Elohim, something like that. You are not going to see me again until you say, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. And that's what John records when he says his triumphal entry on the 10th. John records, then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover. Passover in Hebrew is the sacrifice. Kill. That's the sacrifice. Right here is the sacrifice. Then Jesus, 6 days before the 14th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 8th of the Aviv that John starts first to speak of the Passion Week. And he says in verses 12, 1 to 3, how it is at Lazarus's and somebody oils his feet. And then Judas said, Judas said the 300 pence the next day, because Matthew, Mark, and Luke have the oil on his head in Bethany also, yes, but not at Simon's and not at a supper. He's at Simeon's or Simon the leper's at a meat, 2 different Greek words. Regardless, so it's a different event. Why do I say it's a different day? Because all 3 say it was at Simeon's, the leper's, when she dumped it on his head and she broke it. So the feet could not have been any other time. But all 3 of them say, but we do know it's a different location. But all 3 of them do say, then Judas said, should have sold it for 300 pence. Luke maybe, don't quote me on that. Luke may not have said it. My notes are one of those teaching days, and And then drew nigh, called unto them, called the feast of unleavened bread, the Passover, and they sought to kill him. And then Judas, I have covenant opportunity. Okay, yes, Luke is, if you want to get in covenant, you do Passover. Luke so quickly doing his chronology perfectly in 22:3-6 is going to be speaking about Judas and the covenant on why Judas can betray him, and he was given the opportunity because he did not choose a lamb. This was the last day. This was the day. Excuse me. We'll show that this will be the day of the 10th that he's speaking this. But for now, Luke 22:3-6. He's going to be speaking of Judas and the covenant, and the opportunity. Whereas I told you just a second ago that it's where all three authors said that Judas said something about 300 pence. So don't forget the 300 pence. We'll see in Matthew and Mark. Then it says the next day was the day of Passover, the feast of unleavened, the 10th. They say the next day was the 10th. So we know that the three guys talking about